Oh, Jesus, you just killed me. Carry on without me for a moment.
Welcome to Sincast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Sincast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Scher.
Happy July.
Happy July.
Happy July.
You blew my mind.
Because it's definitely July as we record this.
That's weird.
It is for sure July.
Totally.
Definitely not late June.
No. There's going to be shit that happens in the next 2 weeks.
That's
that we don't address.
Isn't that our biggest fear, that when we do something in advance, that we'll be sitting here going, man, I love this person, and then it'll be, of course, yeah.
In the next 2 weeks, like Chris Pratt will have saved a baby or something like that, and then
it's always something like that. Hopefully, I mean, I guess that could happen even if you were. Like we did it a few days in advance, and then we came out with it on Monday, and then on Monday, I mean, it still has the same risk. Right. But anyway, we're going to go back on our road trip today.
Road trip.
On the road again.
The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
And we're going to go to Michigan.
You know, I'm going to get so much shit if we fuck anything up here, because one of my good friends, Jason, I see him every week for like lunches and whatnot. We talk every day online. He's from Michigan. Born and raised. Dicer, our buddy, born and raised in Michigan.
Guess what?
That's right, yeah.
Guess what? If someone's from Michigan, they can't wait to fucking tell you.
Now, that is definitely true. And point on the goddamn hand as Michigan, where in Michigan they live, like they're the first person ever to use their hand.
And they
in
love
place of Michigan.
they love using the term Michigander and
calling it the UP instead of the Upper Peninsula.
The UP, yeah. By the way, saw a movie that uses that liberally.
Yeah.
But Michigan, full of assholes.
Oh my God.
And they're Indiana's hat.
Yeah, exactly. Bunch of dicks. We here down in Tennessee, we have a lot of Michiganders because of the Saturn plant that opened in early 1990s, somewhere around there, and when that happened, there was just an influx of people from Michigan. So we've all run into a lot of people from Michigan.
Well, to the point where for the first 10 years of the Predators' existence, when the Red Wings would play here, literally half the stadium would be Wings fans.
It was a home game.
I mean, people forget that. It's not that way anymore, but it was for a long, you would get drowned out as a Preds fan by the Wings fans in your own building because of all the auto parts.
Oh, and that was the most annoying thing, too. You'd be listening to a Predators broadcast, and the Red Wings would do something special, and you would be like, oh, they must be in Detroit tonight. And you're like, no, they're not. Fuck, they're not. Anyway, let's kick this off with a Michigan as fuck movie, 8 Mile.
8 Mile. You know, everything I know about Detroit comes from this movie and my one trip to Detroit in college, which was late 90s, when Detroit was definitely not what it has turned itself around to be today.
Yeah.
But I went to visit a girlfriend over Christmas break or winter break or something, and she lived an hour from Detroit. We drove into Detroit. We went to the Henry Ford Museum, which is an awesome place. And then we went downtown, and it was like that Arby's commercial where no one is there anymore, and the rapture had happened, and it was like,
where is everybody?
Exactly. The buildings were all there, but none of them were occupied anymore, and that was when I was confronted with this reality. I didn't really realize a city could be like that, but everything had moved out to Ann Arbor, and now they've sort of revitalized and turned things around. But anyway, everything I know about Detroit comes from that one trip and this movie. And I don't really feel compelled morally to do any more research. I think that's enough.
You know the area code.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of them.
Yeah. 8 Mile's one of the best crowd reaction movies I've ever walked into.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I mean, that's just one of those. 8 Mile, when it came out, it sold out, obviously, at Hollywood 27 a couple of times, during that opening weekend and everything. And And when, Eminem's up there doing his shit, man, it's everybody is just engaged. That's how good that whole thing is. And people, when you're an active participant in a movie, I feel like this 8 Mile, Jackass even are those type of movies where you love being in there and observing other people.
Did you get the
watching
reaction
it.
of like the
yeah, man?
like that?
Oh, yeah,
nice.
they were all over it, man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and they do it well. Of course, they make him fail so horribly at the beginning, and he's an underdog the entire movie, and you just don't. I mean, he doesn't look like he's got this in him at all. And then by the end of it, he's killing it.
So real question: he's legitimately good in this movie, Eminem, right?
I think so, but I think it's one of these instances where he's good because he doesn't have to act.
He's himself.
Yeah. And I think ultimately they probably decided to cast him for the authenticity in the rap portions, and just hope the acting would be good enough. And I think it was better than that.
I think it was too, yeah.
I think he acquitted himself fine, but I think it means something that you haven't seen him pursue a career in acting.
Right.
That this was a story he wanted to tell and could tell, but not, I want to be an actor.
Yeah, I mean, he's the better acting version of Prince in Purple Rain.
Yeah,
basically.
I was about to say, this movie is often compared to Purple Rain.
It's very much like it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better.
Yeah, it is.
I know you love Purple Rain.
I know.
I have a hard
It is.
when we get to Minnesota, that's going to be an interesting conversation, I think.
Yeah.
Purple Rain.
I've got specifics.
Yeah.
I'll be able to acquit myself nicely. But this is, I was living in Louisville with a bunch of hipsters at the time that this came out in 2002, right around 2002. And I was derided for even wanting to see this movie. As soon as the trailer came out, and I think Lose Yourself was in the trailer, it was that dun, dun,
Oh, yeah.
dun,
Oh, yeah.
dun. And I was fucking there, even though I wasn't a huge fan of Eminem. Like he was almost like a novelty act. He wasn't like a serious rapper in my mind. But I was psyched to see this movie. And it was like, fucking Eminem, what's wrong with you? Sorry.
Yeah, good movie.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's great by any means.
It's so watchable,
but
though.
it is watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it brought us Anthony Mackie too. And
Yeah.
I love Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, man, Papa Doc.
Yeah, that movie ruined me for real rap battles, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go on like YouTube and look up real rap battles, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And the crowd, every single one of them do. And this movie's everybody's so articulate. And even though I don't exactly know the implications of everything being said, I understand all the words being said.
Yeah.
And it's just. That's not what real rap battles are like.
No, real rap battles are for setting up memes of dudes like falling off frame and doing
Yeah. Which we found out was a YouTube, some YouTube thing where it's like not even it's a guy pretending to be good at rap battles, and he says something that's just absolutely mundane, and everybody's
I saw a great repurposing of that GIF too, where because this thing that this kid did a couple years ago at a talent show at university where he flipped a half full water bottle and it landed perfectly on a stool on stage, and people have done variations of that. So this was a GIF of a guy that flipped a bottle and it landed perfectly on the counter right next to his cat. And the cat immediately bats it off the counter and it flips and lands perfectly on the floor. And then it cut to that gif of those people freaking out, but it's all cat faces instead of their face. So the guy who goes by the camera is a cat. I'll have to send that to you.
oh my
That shit
god,
was awesome.
I definitely need to see that shit. And then now after that we have 30 minutes or less.
This came up in regular conversation recently.
It did, because there's a documentary on Netflix called Evil Genius out right now, and it's maybe 4 episodes long. Very, very good if you ever want to catch that. But,
This is the Duplass brothers.
yeah, the Duplass brothers did this, produced it, and it's about a story that I had heard of a long time ago about a guy who went into a bank basically with a cane for a gun. It was a cane gun, and when he got caught by cops, he said, "I'm just a pizza delivery guy. They strapped a bomb to me. They told me to go into this bank and all that." Very strange story indeed. And of course, he got blown up too.
Mm-hmm.
That was the bad part of it, obviously. But then after all of that, the story just gets weirder and weirder. like, was this guy in on it? Did he actually was he just delivering pizzas that day? Whatever. So they made a movie called 30 Minutes or Less, which takes off on this.
Well, it wasn't supposed to.
And it's the comedy version.
Yeah, right.
Because after all,
Did you see the humor in this? What a cast, though. It's a really good cast.
Jesse Eisenberg, Danny McBride, Nick Swartzen, Aziz Ansari. But yeah, it's not a funny movie, really. I didn't really like it at all.
No.
I never saw it.
I don't remember much about it. I just saw it and I was like, that was average, below average, somewhere around there.
Yeah, Ruben Fleischer did this, who did Zombieland.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
It's kind of got a similar aesthetic, but just not nearly as funny as Zombieland.
Yeah, definitely hoping for more with that. Anyway, then there is American Pie.
Yeah, all set in Michigan.
All of them, all 9 of them are set in Michigan.
Yeah, that's right.
Even the Bandcamp spin-offs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? To my recollection, watching this movie in, what was it, 99?
99.
Because we were at Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching it in 15, and it did kind of feel like they got the Michigan thing right. Like, these kids felt like the Michigan kids I went to college with. Like, basically normal people who were 10% more full of themselves.
And they always ejaculate into beers, too.
Indeed.
It's very annoying.
I mean, people, it's easy to make jokes about the American Pie franchise and even some of the people who starred in those movies, but this was a big fucking hit.
Yes, it was.
And it was one of the most talked about movies of the year.
I remember even before it came out, I think the trailer went through all these anticipated movies of 1999. Phantom Menace and Matrix, all this other stuff, and then it gets to American Pie. It goes through all these movies because 99 was stacked, but it gets past American Pie, and I think it does the record scratch thing. Why American Pie? And it shows all these scenes that are coming around. It was sort of the return of the R-rated raunch comedy,
especially for teens.
Yeah. I always try to pinpoint this because Kevin Smith's a part of it and Judd Apatow's a part of it and everything. This was the Weitz brothers who did this.
Oh yeah.
Go on to do all the Ice Age movies, right? Or at least write them?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure
they didn't direct them, I don't think, but
never mind. Go ahead.
But I think they did one or the other did About a Boy and
let's see, Ants, American Pie, Nutty Professor.
Ants?
Yeah.
They wrote. Right?
How did you do Ants and not have anything with Ice Age?
But I mean, they probably wrote, right?
Yeah, they wrote.
They didn't direct.
Screenplay there.
It's probably like some other Chris that did Ice Age, and
there's no Ice Age on here, I don't think.
Chris Weitz is an uncredited director on American Pie. They did Down to Earth, About a Boy, The Golden Compass, Twilight Saga, New Moon, and another movie called A Better Life.
That's a bad list.
Yeah, it really is. It's such a bad list. And then Paul Weitz, I think he might be the more prolific one.
Little Fockers he did.
Yeah, he did Down to Earth, Bad Boy, In Good Company, American Dreams with a Z, Certain to Freak, Little
Ice
Fockers.
Age was Chris Wedge.
Chris Wedge.
So I don't think you should cut this because I'm close enough. I don't think I sound like an idiot for having
It's right there.
No, I like it. Anyway, American Pie. I mean, it sort of brought back that kind of comedy, for good or bad.
It's a funny movie. It's hard to watch now with the whole Shannon Elizabeth scene.
Yeah, it is. I mean, not that the Shannon Elizabeth scene is hard to watch.
Right, yeah.
But the fact that
I wouldn't say I've been missing it.
Yeah, but the fact is that she's forced basically to move back to her homeland after that. She's shamed because of it.
Well, not to mention that they're recording.
Her fault. And they're recording without her knowledge.
I was going to say, they play it off for the joke of it gets sent to the whole school, but he's secretly recording her without her knowledge or consent, and that would not fly today at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is one of those time capsule movies that we might have time later for one of the questions that we prepared answers for this week that this movie could be an answer for.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're in 1999.
Yes.
But man, Eugene Levy,
Yeah.
Not that he hasn't had plenty of opportunities to shine, but
He's great.
he's so good in this movie.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, a lot of the lead actors in this, I guess there's 6 or 7 lead characters. Half of them are not very good actors, at least at this point in their careers.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people mention the Chris Klein, Mina Savari stuff as being just probably the low point.
He's Marky Mark in The Happening Bad in that
Yeah.
movie. He's like, but no.
Yeah.
His earnestness is off the charts.
Oh, yeah.
But Jason Biggs is really good. And
he and Eugene Levy are perfect
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, and Rookie of the Year is pretty good. And Stifler's okay. And John Cho's in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
so
coins the term MILF, right?
I believe he does. I don't know if this movie definitely popularized it. I don't know if it made it up, but that I had never heard of.
Yeah,
it
I hadn't
before
either.
until this movie when they said MILF and because especially the way he defines it, like has not anybody. It's like nobody knows.
Right.
Like if you saw this movie today and he did that, you'd be like, "What a ham-handed."
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, but back then you're like, "What's MILF?" You know. But yeah, Eugene Levy does pretty much steal this movie.
He does.
You know, he's like because he sees his son fucking the pie, and he's like you know I did quite a bit of masturbating when I was younger, and he's like I never used baked goods though.
God, that guy's great.
It's so funny.
Oh my God.
But yeah, the sequels I could take or leave.
I don't mind the second one.
Is that
Second
the
one's
one where they
okay.
go to the lake house?
Yeah.
That's, I think, the only one I've seen.
I'm
no, I
glued.
saw the wedding one.
I'm
once.
glued. That's American Pie 2. And then American Wedding is him and Allison Hannigan are getting married. And Stifler runs into January Jones. This is pre-January
shit,
Jones
yeah.
Mad Men. Pre-Mad Men January Jones. And then they what did they have? American Reunion was
Yeah.
the
I actually saw that
was
too.
It was shit.
That was awful.
I don't think
Yeah.
I saw that one.
Yeah, that was not good at all.
But then they spun it off with like Stifler's little brother.
Yeah. Stifler's little brother in the first American Pie is the voice of the kid in Iron Giant.
Well, you're just full of all kinds of nuggets of knowledge today.
Hold on, what?
The
The kid that
Stifler's little brother plays the kid in the Iron Giant.
So he had 2 huge
His name's
1999
Eli
movies.
Marienthal.
That's
Well, actually, Iron Giant wasn't very huge.
Well, I mean, huge in terms of impact.
culturally, yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, anyway, pretty good. Assault on Precinct 13.
The original or the remake?
The remake.
Oh.
Apparently the original's in South Central.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the original is John Carpenter.
Yeah, the remake I remember being decent.
It's not terrible.
No,
It got like better than expected reviews, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things that sort of looks like Hard Rain. but ends up being a little more Inside Man than you expected,
Yeah.
but still a little Hard Rain.
It's Ethan Hawke. Is it Lawrence Fishburne?
Yeah.
that's on this?
yeah.
Yeah. Somebody else famous is Drea De Matteo's in this, right? The Sopranos.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And Maria Bello and Gabriel
Just
Byrne.
pulled that out of my ass, by
Nice.
the way. Drea.
Nice.
John Leguizamo, Brian Dennehy,
Oh, Brian
Ja
Dennehy.
Rule.
Ja Rule.
Not fucking Brian Dennehy. Fucking Brian Bertano.
But
Bye.
no, I
But
remember
there's like a snowstorm kind of thing happening. That's why I make the Hard Rain jokes.
Hard snow.
yeah.
Hard snow.
But no, I remember just kind of liking this. This is one of those just solid movies. It's not great,
Mm-hmm.
may not even be good, but it's you could watch it.
It's one of those movies that now you can't do this anymore because of the internet, but back in the day when you could walk into the video store and there still existed this world of direct to video where a film had been made but the studio didn't have faith in it or the producers ran out of money, and so they would put it out on home video and hope to get back whatever they could, but it never had a theatrical release. And a lot of these movies have famous people in them. And if you saw this on the shelf at Blockbuster, and had never heard of it, you would love it if you took it home.
Yeah,
You feel like that was a reward when you got done watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Beverly Hills Cop. Now, yeah, Beverly Hills Cop obviously spends most of its time in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does start. He's a Detroit cop.
Yeah, and that's like the central, like his narrative basically. Is,
Yeah.
I'm from Detroit, you know?
And so it's as cops were wont to do in the 80s. there's a crime of some sort that affects him personally. Like was it a friend of his gets killed?
It was his partner.
It's his partner.
Right.
Partner gets killed, so therefore he is able to go to fucking Beverly Hills and investigate this shit. And it's amazing how many times he should be in jail for
No
the
kidding.
shit that he does in this movie.
I haven't seen this movie in forever.
Yeah. It's 80s as fuck.
Is the second one any good? The third one is a piece of shit.
Yeah, the third one's a piece of shit. The second one I remember being decent.
Oh, okay.
But it's not as good as the first
I
one.
mean, I like the first one a lot, even though it probably doesn't play as well these days. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, I
back
mean,
then.
you're also talking about Eddie Murphy back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
where he would just get away with things you would not be able to get away with today. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a good. If you wanted to talk about time capsules, it's another time capsule kind of movie.
Gave us the song Axel F.
Sure.
Yeah,
Which every kid with a Casio keyboard learned how to play that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll attest that even kids who didn't have Casio keyboards learned how to play that.
Yeah.
I learned on the church piano.
Nice.
What was
Play it
the-
on the pipe organ.
What was the? Yeah, that would be awesome. Who was the guy who did that? The composer?
Oh, it's is it Howard
Howard Jones?
Harold Faltermeyer.
Faltermeyer, yeah.
But yeah, I like some Beverly Hills Cop. Then there's Big Fat Liar. Did I ever see this? I don't
Paul
know.
Giamatti.
Yeah, Giamatti and Frankie Muniz, in the middle of his Malcolm in the Middle fame.
I've seen it. It is exactly what you think it is.
Yep.
It's basically a glorified TV movie made for 10-year-olds.
He's a con man, right? Or he's a serial liar that somehow ends up defrauding.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I just remember he gets turned blue.
Yeah, that's right.
Pre-Arrested Development blue himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
After a young boy's school essay erroneously finds its way into the hands of a Hollywood producer who turns the idea into a hit film, the boy travels to Los Angeles to claim his credit.
There you go. That is First World Problems, the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
There were a lot of these type of movies, like Blank Check,
Yep.
and always a kid doing something stupid, and an adult threatening death or something.
Problem child.
Yeah, problem child.
Dennis the Menace.
Yeah. Bird on a Wire. I did see Bird on a Wire, but I don't remember a damn thing about it. This was Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, that's right.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
I got a soft spot for Goldie Hawn for whatever reason. I just watched a lot of her movies when I was growing up, and I thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not any good, but it's got an interesting story to it. Mel Gibson is like a CIA operative or something like that, and she thinks he's dead. She was engaged to him, and she just runs into him, and they get into all kinds of, wacky shenanigans.
Yeah. It's one of those wacky shenanigans type movies.
It's very much Mel Gibson's in a lot of these things, like a conspiracy theory for he had that period where he was just this super manic, Lethal Weapon-y type of character.
Yeah, and that
Maverick.
Yeah, another
Right.
movie, and another one that's like that is Ransom. Then there's Christine.
Speaking of
Killer
John
Car.
Carpenter.
Killer Car.
Wow. We talked about this recently for some reason.
May have.
I think we just glanced off of it when we were rattling off some Stephen King things.
Oh yeah.
But literally flipped the channel the other day, turned the TV on, I think, and caught the last 2 minutes of Christine.
Oh, really?
Basically crunching the car and then the eerie music to make you think it's still alive, even though it's a car box.
Ah.
This is about my cube. That's now my only experience with Christine. That's all I know, is that it appears the humans win at the end, or did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the 80s had a lot of these things like Duel.
Mm-hmm. Well, Duel was the 70s.
Well, Duel was the 70s, and there was actually somebody in there. But like Christine, Cujo, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, what was the tire movie that came out recently that
Rubber.
ate this? Rubber. Yeah. Where it's like inanimate objects that are
Believe
they're
it or
trying to
not,
kill you.
Jeremy and I saw this movie at a midnight showing at Belcourt.
We did.
Rubber or
Rubber.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There was a hobo with a shotgun trailer played before.
Yep.
And then we watched. I actually enjoyed the experience of watching Rubber.
I did too, especially at the beginning when the guy gives you the disclaimer, basically, and he's like, "Why does this happen? No reason. Why does That's why we do the things we do for no reason. Then there is. Do we need to say anything more about Christine?
No.
Then there's The Crow, a movie that is unfortunately probably best known for the death of Brandon Lee.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch this movie on its own, is it good? Like, if you didn't know that, would it be good?
I saw this fairly recently, and I'm on the fence about it because it's all atmospheric. There's some good martial arts stuff in there. There's some good action in there, but the movie's so fucking dark, like literally dark, that you can't see shit going on. This
had sort of, and not to be macabre about everything, this is sort of what I felt like with Heath Ledger's death in The Dark Knight, was that the death of an actor a lot of times draws people out. I don't think this movie would have done what it did if it had not been for that.
No, it's stock.
And the same thing for Dark Knight. As good as The Dark Knight is, I don't think it would have been that big of a runaway hit had that not happened. But that this is the thing with The Crow, though, is that we heard about his death. I think Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, came out somewhat around the time that Brandon Lee died.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in there where Bruce Lee is fighting like some demon or something, like, I can't remember what it was in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, but he's about to fight this demon of some sort, and then the demon goes after Brandon Lee in the dream.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it's like right around that time that he died. And anyway, yeah, I don't like the movie The Crow at all, really.
It's
I don't
not
either.
great.
Now they've been trying to reboot this, and somewhat humorously over the last year and a half, they've gone through 3 different directors that were attached, and currently no one's attached. But there's a studio that owns the rights that is trying to get something made, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody decent was attached to direct this one, and just 3-4 weeks ago walked away from it, leaving it in limbo yet again.
Well, Alex Proyas did the first one, and he went on to do Dark City, which is still his best movie. But
both very dark movies.
Yeah,
all of his movies are kind of dark.
Yeah. The story behind that just such a weird circumstance and everything. I guess the prop master had left for the day, and they did this scene with the gun, and something either got stuck in the gun or
it wasn't a bullet that killed him. It was a projectile that was stuck in the barrel that then fired, and it was when he comes home and brings the groceries home. It's crazy, and it's such a weird experience to watch it, because he's got this scene where he's standing up on the boardroom table and everybody unloads on him. Like he gets shot millions of times.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just weird to watch.
Yeah,
when you know
I don't
the
even know if
history
it was
of
that scene.
It wasn't that scene that he actually got killed.
It was what was the scene that
he's coming home to see his girlfriend. I think he's got groceries or something.
Oh, okay.
That was the scene, and the robbers or whoever, the bad guys, shoot him.
Yeah.
And that's where they actually had the discharge.
Yeah. All right, and then there's Detroit. This is a movie that I wanted to see. It came out last year, I think. And it's got John Boyega in it.
I missed it too.
I haven't seen it.
Catherine
It's
Bigelow
Catherine
directed.
Bigelow too, and when it came out, it's one of these movies that came out and had great word of mouth, and then something else came out 3 days later that had somehow even more word of mouth, and then everybody in the world just forgot about Detroit, including me.
Well, it looked like it was almost batting for an Oscar type of thing.
It did.
It got completely overlooked.
It did, and I'm curious as to, because I think it still has probably pretty good. I bet its Rotten Tomatoes score is pretty good. But I need to see it.
Yeah, I've got it. Of course, it's in
That's
my
the
Blu-ray
thing,
collection.
I've got 50 movies now in a stack on my two stacks on my desk that I'm trying to get to, and just the stack just keeps growing.
It's a 7.4 on our IMDb and 83% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So that's not bad.
Yeah,
that suggests to me that it's a decent film, quality film, and we just somehow all missed it.
Yeah, I'll totally watch it though.
And then there's Detroit Rock City. That was a movie that was not good in 1999.
No, and I did see it.
Oh, I did too.
This is Edward Furlong.
Edward Furlong.
The last time I brought him up, I was not sure we were
It's definitely
right.
Edward Furlong in this.
This is a bunch of kids trying to see a Kiss concert, and Lynn Shay's in it, and Lynn Shay plays, I think, Edward Furlong's mom, and she's like, you know what KISS stands for? Knights in Satan's Service. and so they're trying to go to a KISS concert and everything. And there's a scene. This is ultimately if you were to take a picture of this movie and reason why not to watch it and everything. There's a scene where Edward Furlong probably vomits into on the stage or a stage or something for like a minute straight or something.
Man.
And it's not like Team America funny or anything. It's just gross, you know?
Yeah.
There's a fine line between those two vomiting scenes. And, you know, the one in Detroit Rock City just always just grossed me out for whatever reason. But yeah, not a good movie. Then there's Don't Breathe.
Talking about disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. How did we just go from Detroit Rock City to an even grosser movie?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Yeah.
I saw this for Sins purposes. I don't even think I wrote for it. I think I just saw the Sins video. I don't think I saw the movie.
Yeah, I think this was me and a couple other writers.
This is the semen syringe movie, right? With Papa Dragon?
Indeed it is. Yeah. Papa Dragon. This is Papa Dragon.
This movie's weird because it's two different movies, and I guess that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
and like this fusion of suspense and horror and things like that. Neither thing worked for me though. You know?
Yeah, it's got effective scares in it for a while, and then it gets to its main thing, and that's where it loses me a bit. I mean, I understand his reasoning and everything, and that's what a madman does. You know, it's like. My daughter died, so I'm therefore going to have all the rights in the world to do this other fucked up shit to somebody else.
I think the idea, because this is the one where he's blind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea of kids breaking into a house, the blind guy is actually there and is trying to hunt and kill them. I think that's kind of interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and then everything else they put around it is what takes away from it.
Yeah, yeah. When talked about Evil Dead in one of the last episodes, and Jane Levy's in this too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I like me some Jane Levy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Don't Breathe is got effective stuff in it. It's just that I think it gets a little bit too far. At some points, but overall pretty effective. Then there's Dreamgirls.
Oh man. This is another one that I'm having trouble like saying that it's good.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's got amazing music. Jennifer Hudson won the Oscar for her role.
Oh, yeah, that's what that movie is.
Yeah, Jennifer Hudson won the Oscar for the amazing singing performance in the middle of the movie. Yep. I think she's fine as an actress. It's just that that was one of those that I find controversial in a way. Maybe I'm the only one making this controversy.
No, I've seen this. I agree.
It doesn't seem like she's really featured in the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things like how a great performance like that, the show-stopping performance in the middle of the movie like that. I don't know how anybody else is supposed to compete acting-wise when somebody belts something out that amazing. And I don't know. She's obviously doing a great job in the performance of that song, but man, I mean, she's fine as an actress. If you want to find her in some other movies that she did after that, she's in the background most of the time.
And then Eddie Murphy got some critical accolades for taking a dramatic turn.
Yeah, he was none too happy when he lost the Oscar. He got nominated.
Was he not?
He got nominated.
Yeah,
and I think people were expecting him to win. And he expected him to win. And I think you see it at the Oscar ceremony. I believe he's pretty disappointed.
Is he doing like a Samuel L. Jackson? Like, what the
I
fuck?
don't think he does the Sam Jackson thing, but you can see him just kind of like, oh man, come on. And I can't remember who won that year, but yeah, because it looked like he was destined to win it.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way about that movie. I'm not sure if I like it completely. I don't think it's a total success. Good performance from Beyonce in there too.
Yeah. She's just talented.
She goes
as
by
fuck.
Bay now.
Yeah, she just goes
I'm
by
not
Bay.
sure you're aware.
I was not.
Mrs. Carter.
Yeah. Exit Wounds.
Oh Jesus.
Oh, God.
So
this movie.
Exit Wounds, I think, came out first, and then Cradle to the Grave, which had all the same people, came out after.
I don't know. I
I'm
do
not
know
sure it matters.
Because I believe, well, the reason why I ask is I think there's a scene in Cradle to the Grave where Tom Arnold is saying like they're basically breaking the fourth wall, and he's like, it's like, yeah, let's get all the same people who produced blah 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 and Exit Wounds and whatever. And it was I think that was in Cradle to the Grave. But.
This fucking movie though. Okay, so Steven Seagal and DMX are the stars. But the rest of the cast...
How could it miss?
Exactly. Tom Arnold, Anthony Anderson, Michael Jai White, Isaiah Washington, fucking Eva Mendes. Like it's got
That's a great cast.
It's got an amazing cast, but then it focuses on fucking Steven Seagal
and DMX.
And it's awful. It is so awful. And of course, it's Steven Seagal. Like he defies. He's a rogue cop and he plays by his own rules. And so he gets assigned to the worst precinct in Detroit, and yeah, all that shit happens. God, it's so awful. Oh. This is a movie that I picked up at Blockbuster actually because I was like, you know what, shitty action film, maybe okay. Saw the rest of the people that were in there.
Yeah.
And
It didn't always pay off at Blockbuster when you took that risk.
It was the total opposite of Assault on Precinct 13.
I was looking up the director on this. His name is Andrei Bartkowiak or something similar to that or whatever. As a director, he made Romeo Must Die. I know you've seen that.
Yep.
Then he made Exit Wounds. Then he made Cradle to the Grave. Then he made Doom, one of the worst movies ever. Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, which I haven't seen. And then he's come back recently. He did a movie called Maximum Impact. That sounds like a 90s Van Damme movie if I've ever heard.
It sounds like a fake movie.
Yeah, and then Alter Rock or whatever. But what kills me is looking at he did those movies as a director, but as a cinematographer, he's got like The Verdict, and he's got something else awesome on here. He was the director of photography on Speed, and he was on Falling Down. And
oh wow,
what the hell? He just decided I'm going to direct my own shitty movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
tired of being involved in quality projects.
Yeah. The next one here, The 5-Year Engagement. I hated this movie.
It's not very good, is it?
Yeah, and
I don't know how they screwed this. It's Emily Blunt and
Jason
Segel, right?
Yeah, I was very excited about this. You had Nicholas Stoller, who did Forgetting Sarah Marshall, part of this. Segel wrote it with Stoller, I believe. And just a great formula for something that would be fun, and it wasn't funny at all. I don't know what happened.
That was the deal. It wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Like you've got all these funny people in there.
Chris Pratt's in it.
Chris Pratt, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Alison Brie. But yeah, wasn't too excited about that one. Now here's probably one of my favorites, Gross Point Blank. I've seen Gross Point Blank at least 30 times.
Yeah. I am right there, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it, I think maybe 5 times, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't remember a tenth of what you guys probably can. I just remember they could have sex at the reunion. They wander off down the halls and they do it.
Yeah, they go to the nurse's office.
Yeah. And she's like, hold on for a second. And she slaps him, and he's like, all right, welcome home. And what a great there were 2 reunion movies this year. One was this, and Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion both came out the same year. But this one, what a great idea. They have a hitman who gets an invite to his high school reunion and he's going through all these assessing his life.
Yeah, he's got a therapist, Alan Arkin is his therapist.
Yeah. He's like, Marty, I don't think I can be your therapist anymore. And he's like, why is that? And he goes, 'cause I'm afraid of you. And that constitutes an emotional attachment. I can't.
It says, stop killing people.
Yeah, he's like, don't kill anyone while you're out there.
Don't kill anybody while you're out there.
It's like, okay, I'll give it a shot. No, don't give it a shot. Don't shoot anything.
Man, Arkin is one of a kind.
Yeah, he is.
Everything about this movie works. Like all the characters, and it's crazy how much I'm sure she's a wonderful person, but I dislike Minnie Driver as an actress. But she's in 2 of my favorite movies, Good Will Hunting and Gross Point Blank.
Well, that was like a Jeopardy answer.
Yeah.
You combine 2 movie titles and
you don't like her in this?
No, I'm saying this is the other favorite movie.
Oh, well, I thought you
butchered
said
the name.
I thought you said that you don't like her, but you like the movie.
I like both of her performances in those 2 movies, and I love those 2 movies, and I guess that's why her American accent maybe isn't all the way there, but God, everything about this story, it's funny. It's actiony, it's dramatic, and sometimes it's goofy actiony.
Yeah.
But like, this is how you do it, man. And that's why Barry, I think, is such a success on HBO, is because it tapped into this. We're going to show you the real violence. We're going to have all kinds of crazy language and stuff like that. We're going to expose kind of like the practicalities of being an assassin, and we're going to make it fucking funny too.
Yeah.
And it's so brilliant.
But what it's doing, what this movie does, is that his problems, like the hitman stuff, is kind of like a nuisance, right?
Yeah.
Like you're never really fearing for his life. The real problem in this movie is the relationship with Minnie Driver and trying to heal that and reconcile who he's become with who he used to be, and it's just the violence is kind of like the setting, for what would otherwise be a pretty traditional coming home romantic comedy.
People keep asking him what he does, and he's like, I'm a hitman, professional killer. He's like, there's a point where he's talking to Jeremy Piven, and he's in the car and everything, and he's like, professional killer's like, oh, really? So do you have to take extra classes for that, or you have to?
And then that leads to this great exchange where like they're smoking a joint, or he's smoking a joint. Jeremy Piven is, and he's just like, there's a moment of silence, and he's like, 10 years,
yeah, 10 years,
and then he's like, I freaked out, I joined the army, professional killer, and he's like, all right, you want to go get some burgers or something like that?
There's a great scene too where his old childhood home has been sold and has become a gas station, and he comes in and there's like a guy, like a kid working he's working the counter, and he's like, who are you? And he's like I don't know. He's like, my name's Jeff or whatever the fuck it is, and he's like. I mean, what's going on? Who are you? And
he tells him to stay right here.
Yeah. And so he and the rival hitman are like have their like the kid goes off, and of course he's playing Doom, the arcade machine or whatever. He's got headphones on. This is one of those classic. The clerk is unaware of all the stuff that's going on. They're like blasting each other in the gas station, shooting everything in sight and everything. It's got one of the best John Cusack reaction moments of all time. Not just John Cusack. When he finds out that the other guy put a bomb in the microwave, he looks at it for just a second, and there's this look on his face like, I gotta get out of here. And he runs out, and I gotta get the guy too. He gets the guy, he pulls him out, and he's like, hey, whatever. And the thing blows up and everything, and like there just flames everywhere. And he's like, are you okay? You okay? He's like, no, man, I'm not okay. I'm hurt. I'm pissed. I gotta find another job.
Before we move on, who's the guy from Walking Dead that we keep talking about that's in this, who plays the drunk bully asshole?
Oh, it's Steve Pink.
We're talking about an actor from
they call him Bobby Beamer in the movie.
Yeah, that's right. He owns it's Michael Cudlitz.
Yeah.
That guy.
Michael Cudlitz.
Michael Cudlitz. Steve Pink is one of the writers.
Right. Yeah. No, because he's set up as being this big bully that may actually like be a foil because he gets all drunk and you want to do some blow and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they have this confrontation where that Cusack can just beat his ass into all kinds of oblivion. But he just steps up to him. He's like, man, what is this conflict? There is no me and you.
Yeah.
And the guy just melts, and he's like, I wrote a poem for it's full of beats like that subverts like all the action.
When I feel sad, when I feel blue.
He's like,
hey, can you skip to the end? He's like, for a while.
He's like, oh, that's beautiful, man.
He's like, there's more. he's like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You want to go out and do some blow?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. Great movie. I'm sure we have recommended it before, but if you haven't seen some Gross Point Blank, get you some.
So good.
Then there's Gran Torino.
Oh, talk about a great movie.
Very good movie.
This could be anywhere, though, right? There's nothing really super Michigan about it, is there?
Oh, it's Detroit as fuck. I mean, I've never been to Detroit, but it's the setting for sure. Because Clint Eastwood is out in like I don't know, the opposite of gentrification, I guess, like a rundown area of Detroit. And I guess it's the Korean gangs that are coming in.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And it centers around this young kid that's trying to like get out of it and everything, the unlikely friendship, which sounds rote and just, normal and stuff like that. But Eastwood delivers maybe one of my favorite performances. It's like Unforgiven, maybe In the Line of Fire, Dirty Harry, and this.
Yeah.
Like he's terrific.
This is the beginning of Get Off My Lawn, right?
Well, I think it had been said before, and I think the fact that he literally went
became,
there.
This is what became the meme of
Yes.
Get Off My Lawn.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Because it's in the trailer even.
Right.
Because he's pulling out that shotgun and everything, and he's like, "Get off my lawn." And so like I started seeing that a lot after Gran Torino came out. Yeah, really good movie. This was a year that Clint Eastwood did 2 movies. He did this and Changeling, I believe, at the same.
Did he direct Changeling?
Yep.
Oh wow.
In the same
Did he
year.
direct Gran Torino?
I believe he did.
Wow. Yeah, it's a really good movie.
It plays really well too. I mean, it does sound like it's going to be an after-school special kind of thing if you just read the description, but the actors kind of give it the right amount of weight, and it plays pretty authentic. It's one of those movies that I didn't catch until sometime in the last year or two. It's the first time I've ever seen it, and I really liked it. Really liked it, especially the way, especially what happens at the end, especially the way the whole thing unfolds at the end. It just from a storytelling standpoint. Ties its own loop perfectly.
Yeah. Excellent movie. Then there's Hoffa.
Oh, this was on 2 days ago. I was like, man, I haven't seen this since the theaters. I couldn't get through 5 minutes.
It's a fucking mess.
It's a slog, man.
It's just not good. And
What
everyone
happened?
involved in it is
I don't
good.
know. Danny DeVito directed this.
Right.
That's one thing. I think DeVito's better when he's directing like dark comedies and stuff, like War of the Roses and all that. And this is a serious biopic.
This is the kind of thing Oliver Stone would make.
Yeah, they used to make these movies all the time back in the early 90s and everything. It used to be a lot of these. Jack Nicholson has a makeup job to make him look more like Hoffa in this, and
it was written by David Mamet too.
Oh, really?
Jesus Christ.
Everything about this movie is good except for the movie itself.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't help that it's like 7 hours long.
It is long.
I'm
isn't it?
exagggrating. I know. I remember it being eternally long.
I don't need no brother elected president to whomp your ass. That was another thing too that you gather from the real life story and everything. Apparently, Robert Kennedy walked all over Jimmy Hoffa during that hearing, but of course in the movie Hoffa is like the big hero and everything. Yeah. It's hard to get through. I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah,
it's 140 minutes, so it's long.
And it's got opinions about where Hoffa's buried, I think. Like it shows how he's supposedly killed and everything.
Clearly, this movie has not seen Bruce Almighty.
That's right. That's correct. Then we have another iconic horror movie that's come out in the last 10 years. It Follows.
Yeah.
Ah, good film.
Yeah, very good.
It's one of those horror movies that succeeds almost more on tone than anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
There's that sort of dread that it. And part of it, I guess, is how they've designed their creature, if you will, and that it just moves slowly and is unrelenting and is always going to be coming. But
right.
Really good actors that, for the most part, you'd not seen before.
Yeah.
Or since, really.
Or since.
Well, I think
one girl was in
Independence Day Resurgence movie.
Yeah. You didn't even see that movie.
No, but I knew she was in it.
I think she's in actually quite a bit of
I think
stuff.
she's been something else that's coming out.
She's
Micah Monroe?
I think I think she's a pretty hot commodity at this point. Like she's in a lot of stuff since that It Follows movie. But It Follows is sort of your sort of a symbolic STD movie.
Yes, TD.
Yeah, exactly. So you have sex with the person who's infected, and then suddenly this thing is coming after you. And if you can have sex with somebody else, then it'll follow them. But if they die, it'll come after you again.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's got that. The one thing I didn't like about It Follows was there were so many areas where it could have. It's effective in making you think that the danger is always around the corner and everything, but so many times, like that thing in the background turns out to be a normal person.
Oh yeah.
Or like if it is indeed following, why did it go on the roof? Why is it naked on a roof? It's stuff like that. But you're right. It's got more on the tone than anything. It's the whole tone of it that's really good. And I love the pool scene at the end. I think the pool scene's fun. But
almost all pool scenes are fun.
Indeed.
They are?
Right? The pool scene in
Minority Report.
Oh, God.
Made a child abduction joke. That's awesome. Oh, you really didn't. You were making a joke about a scene in the pool that's not,
Yes.
not funny. Oh, Jesus, you just killed me. Carry on without me for a moment.
Movie I haven't seen, If Looks Could Kill.
Oh, yeah, it's Richard Grieco, man.
Oh, Richard Grieco.
Now you know why you haven't seen it.
That's right.
This is Richard Grieco, I think, in the mid to late 80s. It would have to be if it was a Richard Grieco
Kinda
movie.
would.
He's a high schooler that I think is recruited by one of the federal agencies to be a spy.
Oh, 21 Jump Street.
Pretty much, yeah. It's it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. Then there's Jumper. So Jumper has a you have Doug Liman directing, and you have who is of course hit and miss. I mean, but anytime I see his name, I get excited.
Yeah,
he's done enough to earn that. But
it's such an interesting concept.
It's an interesting concept. They fuck it up completely.
Yeah. It's just I haven't seen it recently, but I can't imagine those effects hold up either.
The effects aren't even the problem, though. I mean, it's just a mess. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
And you know, somewhere when you were dyeing Samuel L. Jackson's hair blonde, you should have noticed some measure of the mess that was happening in front of you, and yet you did not. I still think it's watchable, just because the premise is so cool, and I think Rachel Bilson's a phenomenal actress who isn't attractive at all.
That's right. That's correct.
The most annoying part of that movie is where he jumps like from the couch to the kitchen.
What a fucking entitled prick.
Yeah.
Get up and walk around the fucking end table.
That's the kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of thing they throw in this movie that you're like, would if you had this ability, would you use it for that?
Yes. Let's get up and make some popcorn,
right,
and jump back.
Like you got to think there was some point when he was like 16. He's like, oh, now I have to get up and walk over to the kitchen, and I can just jump over there. Yeah, I that might have been better if he was really like a bank thief throughout the whole movie or something like that. He is at the beginning. That's the reason why they're chasing after him and everything. But it would have been nice if it was just a heist movie and just left it at that.
If they found some way.
I do think the movie sort of loses steam when it goes into the mythology of there have always been jumpers and there have always been harpoon chasers. And for our line has always chased your line. And it's just like, I'm gone. It was okay to have another jumper. I kind of like that idea. Like, I thought I was the only one. Now here's, Billy Elliot. He can do it too. And leave it there. But then they keep expanding. Your mom did this, and we've got all these hunters that have all these harpoon jumpy. Geez, you tried to make it into a franchise, and you didn't even really finish the origin story.
Yeah.
Diane Lane was his mom?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Diane Lane was his mom in this.
And who else? Kristen Stewart? Somebody is her daughter. I think it's Kristen Stewart.
It is Kristen Stewart. It is.
I think it's Kristen
You're right.
Stewart.
You're right. It's at the very end. And I think Michael Rooker.
Anna Sophia Robb again. Yeah, Michael Rooker.
Yeah, what was Anna Sophia Robb in this? Oh, she was the Rachel Bilson before.
Oh, when they were kids.
When they were kids, yeah.
Kristen Stewart is in this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. All right, good.
You know you're Kristen Stewart.
I do. I mean, if I'm going to know one thing, it's probably going to be that.
Yeah. Then there's Mr. Mom. This is another. Believe it or not, this is another movie like Neverending Story and The Natural. They used to watch on HBO all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It came on the other fucking day. I had to sit there and watch it.
It's really funny.
Yeah, I love it.
Is this for Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton.
I've never seen it.
So
really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
His wife is Terry Garr, and he gets fired from his job, but she gets a promotion at hers or gets a job. That's the main.
Yeah, they work for like the auto manufacturer.
He loved doing that back in the day, right? And it was Gung Ho, where he was also an auto manufacturer.
That's right.
But he gets laid off of his, and then Terry Garr works for an advertising firm. And so like she's the one who has to work for the family while he gets a job. So he's at home being Mr. Mom. And he's taking care of the kids and all that. And
it's a revolutionary, plot device in 1983 or
yeah,
whatever it was.
I think it was 83. Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, now the dad has to do. And I say that we've moved on as a society completely, but then we just saw Incredibles 2 where they mined a lot of.
I mean, I think there's. I really don't want to step in it. But I think this kind of film could still play today. I think there are still pronounced enough gender norms culturally in America that enough people that think of the man working and the woman. I'm not saying I do or you do or our listeners do, but I think they're out there. And I think that's where you get the comedy from, is from the flipping the script. Again, it's why part of this works in Incredibles 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes centuries for gender roles and norms and stereotypes to change. Right?
There was an episode of the Flintstones that even covered this. The like Wilma went to go work at Fred's job for a day, and Fred had to be at home and all that. And both of them do terribly, of course.
Yeah.
And like Wilma gets sent home because she's terrible, and she's like, "Well, you see, Fred, I did so well that they sent me home early," or whatever. But I don't know if it could play today, though. I'm not. I agree that there are people out there who still think that and everything, but how many? I mean, if you saw a trailer for Mr. Mom today, wouldn't you be like, get the fuck over it?
The way that it's played in the movie.
Yes, but I don't think it would be played the same way. Right. But I think you could still put out a family comedy that plays mostly on subverting gender stereotypes.
Yeah.
And I think that we're not there at Utopia yet. Yeah. Right? In fact, we're pretty fucking far from it. Now, gender roles, maybe we've reached a better plateau, but a lot of our other person-to-person relations are kind of shitty right now.
Yeah. I love the scene in this where they call Michael Keaton back into his job because they've been fucking up lately, and he's been fired and everything. And Jeffrey Tambor is his friend and coworker or whatever who used to work with him, and he brings him in, and the bosses are all like, "Well, it seems as though that production has gone down and our profits have gone down since you left," or whatever. And Michael Keaton's like, "I don't understand. I'm no longer with the company." And he starts going on this rant like, "Yeah, that's like, I don't understand. Like, if I did such a bad job, why did production go down and profits go down while I was gone," or whatever. And he starts going on this big rant. His kid comes in during it, and before he can even say anything, Jeffrey Tambor is like, "Now, son, you have to go out of here now. We're having a meeting." And Michael Keaton keeps going on his rant and whatever, and he's like, "And if you ever talk to my kid like that again, I'm knocking you out." And he, later on, he goes in the bathroom, and he's like, first off, he's drying his baby son's like ass with one of the hand blower dryer things, and the other two kids are throwing tissue paper everywhere, and like the boss walks into the bathroom with Tambor behind him and everything, and Tambor like he starts doing this little laugh. Yeah, I love Mr. Mom a lot. It's just seeing it again, part of it, like recently, I was like, yeah. I mean, it shows its age, but it's still fun.
But vintage Michael Keaton is as funny as anybody that you'll ever see. Like vintage Jim Carrey, vintage Tom Hanks. Yeah, he's right up there with them.
Yeah, people often forget, like, most of his earlier work was comedy, folks.
And manic comedy, like Beetlejuice and shit like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Then there's Narc, Joe Carnahan's movie with Ray Liotta.
Knock.
Who else is in it? Ray Liotta and
Jason Patrick.
Patrick.
Do you like this movie?
Fucking awesome.
It's a fucking great movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I only saw it once. This was one of those perfect days. So I was managing a 10-screen theater, but we only opened for the evening shows. So I would usually get there at like 3:00 and have the place to myself for a couple hours.
Nice.
I'd usually swing by Wendy's, get a Baconator or whatever. Put on a movie I hadn't seen yet from the night before on Friday, but not open. The employees aren't here yet. Doors are locked. It's just me in there eating my Wendy's, watching the movie. And this was one of those movies I did that with.
Nice.
I had gotten it in, but I didn't want to stay late Thursday and watch it. And so I had a whole auditorium to myself. I didn't know anything about this movie. And it's basically a powerhouse, a double powerhouse performance. It's basically a crime film. It's the kind of thing David Ayer might make.
Yeah.
But really, really good Ray Liotta. I feel like what I remember was Ray Liotta got a lot of accolades for this role, and it was almost like a resurgence for him a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I loved it.
I haven't seen it in forever, but I remember really, really liking it. Carnahan has done. A lot of people like Smoking Aces. He did that.
I kind of like Smoking Aces.
Yeah, it's one of those movies, right? He did The A-Team, which I don't think very many people like, but he did The Gray, which is another great movie.
Nice.
But ever since then, he hasn't really done anything. There's a movie called Stretch that I've never heard of, and then he's done a few episodes of The Blacklist and State of Affairs. But he's got like 8 upcoming projects, so maybe he's got a movie in there.
Awesome.
When he came out with this, he was like a new up and comer, like gonna be one of the next big things and everything. Don't know what quite happened with him though. I mean, he's got two solid movies and one cult classic.
What do you think happened with Jason Patric?
Oh, wow.
I mean, he had all the hallmarks of like leading man.
Well, even Narc was like, where the fuck has he been? Because he had that movie with the drug movie.
Rush.
Rush, yeah.
Yes. And that was like peak Jason Patric, right? I guess Lost Boys before that, and then kind of like never turned into
maybe it was Speed 2.
It was probably Speed 2.
Probably Speed 2.
But I mean, he was in Your Friends and Neighbors too, and he was terrific in that.
He's so good in
but
that.
that's kind of where his lane from there on out was smaller projects. But he was such a big leading man for a while there.
Yeah.
Really good looking dude. I mean, like frighteningly good looking dude. He's only got like 50 credits on his IMDb, and so who knows? He could be an asshole. It could be one of those things.
What you're saying is he's pickier than Elle Fanning.
Yeah, totally. He's way pickier than Elle Fanning. That's the thing that is on his resume. That somebody wrote that
in crayon.
Yeah.
I meant, by the way, that he's made fewer movies than she has,
Yes.
so he's pickier in picking his projects.
Right. And that Rush that we mentioned was not the Ron Howard Rush. That
Right.
Chris Hemsworth and
That's a
Which
good
is also
movie,
a
by
good
the way.
movie.
Daniel Bruhl, which is a really good movie. Yeah, but Rush with Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a heavy ass movie.
Yeah, it is.
But he's an undercover cop who starts falling in love with a little too much with the drug.
Yeah. Then I did see this, Not Without My Daughter.
Oh my god.
Sally Field.
Oh my god. I saw it, yeah.
I don't remember anything. I know that doesn't she loses her daughter.
Say any more, you'll spoil it.
Yeah.
Oh fuck this movie. This
But
movie
like doesn't she wants to go, she needs to leave a country, right? And then and she can't because
well, yeah. So she gets essentially like duped or conned into going to Iran, and the Iranian guy is played by Alfred Molina.
Oh yeah. Of course it is.
It's like Fisher Stevens playing an Indian dude in Short Circuit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's over dramatic and apparently a little bit racist.
Yeah.
If not a lot racist.
Right.
And it's terrible.
Yeah. I don't remember much about it other than just the bare outline of the story. And I mean, the title tells you what you need to know.
No.
Okay, so Out of Sight. Have we talked about Out of Sight before in the States before?
We may have mentioned it in the Florida discussion.
Yeah.
but
Certainly
it's
talked about the movie.
It's essentially equally Florida and Detroit.
About half and half.
Yeah, we've discussed Out of Sight a ton, but this is a great movie and you should watch it. And that's all I have to say about it.
That's all I have to say about that.
Then there's Polar Express. Really,
Yeah, he's in town in Michigan.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Before he gets on the Polar Express.
I've never been so underwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a pretty...
Was this the first attempt that Zemeckis had at the animation?
This was the
Mud
first.
in.
This was the first motion capture animation that at least fully. I think Hanks even did the kids in this one too, and then they got actors to do the voices afterwards. But it was kind of a scary time because there was an idea that you could just hire one actor to do every role, and they were so quote unquote realistic that you wouldn't need like all these actors anymore and everything.
I don't know what they were smoking because it's the frightening side of realistic.
Yes.
It's
There's
the scary
a bunch
part.
of dead eye in this.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, this is essentially Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except a whole feature-length movie.
I remember having a bet with somebody that year. It was before both this and The Incredibles, which came out the same year, came out, and two people told me Polar Express was going to do better than The Incredibles, and I said, "Fuck you, no, it's not." And I'm still waiting to get paid on that bet.
Now, it might have, because I think it's a pretty beloved book. But if they'd have just done traditional animation, it might have had a shot. But
Yeah.
I think what happened was that first opening weekend hit, and everybody walked out of the movie talking about the dead eye and nothing else, and word of mouth just tanked.
It did fine for itself. I don't want to make it seem like it was a complete tank job or anything. It did fine.
Okay.
But it wasn't Incredibles level.
And it probably never would have been anyway.
No.
But I do think that they maybe made this a little too. We weren't ready for this.
But this was a Chris Van Allsburg adaptation. He did Jumanji as well.
Oh wow, okay.
The drawings, and that's why it is there. They won the Caldecott medal.
Mm-hmm.
Both Jumanji and this. If they kind of kept it in that sort of that style that Van Allsburg drew it in and everything, I think it would have been a lot better. I think this computer animation stuff, it definitely sucked the soul out of it. And plus, both of those movies aren't movies with a lot of plot. You know, you have to add stuff to it because they're 20-page books or whatever they are.
Weren't you saying that this was a thing with Zemeckis and James Cameron?
Yeah, there was I don't know if this was a real rivalry, but I always heard that Zemeckis was always trying to one-up Cameron as far as special effects were concerned. And so, he was trying to get this motion capture thing. So he did this and Beowulf and the Christmas Carol. He did all of those right in a row, and none of them are very good.
Mm-hmm.
And but he was always, and he's got a new movie coming out later this year that's now looks really cool.
Is it the same motion capture?
No.
I saw a trailer for this.
It's got Steve Carell and
it's a Welcome to Marwan or Marwin.
Yeah, it's something like that.
He's got he's a war veteran with physical and mental.
Yeah, it's Welcome to Marwan, and he has these little dolls that he plays with. He can do motion capture with. And he sort of enters that world as a fantasy world. So a lot of the movie is in this motion capture look, and the dolls that are in that are lifelike.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they did. Either they made these dolls amazingly lifelike or whatever, or they're them and they've put some effects over them or whatever. But it looked really interesting. A lot of people didn't know quite what to think about it when they saw that trailer.
No, I didn't either. It gave me Walter Mitty vibes crossed with a little Wizard of Oz. And it also definitely feels like one of those movies that, like Walter Mitty, that just doesn't hit the way the trailer makes you think it will, and that it doesn't have the magic it's selling right now, because you got to see the finished product to know, but the trailer made me want to see it.
Yeah, the trailer is very interesting. But I think he's had this sort of, I guess that's the idea. He's had a rivalry with Cameron, and Cameron, of course, always one-ups him because, even though I didn't like Avatar, you can see how amazing Avatar's technical aspects are. Then there is Prancer.
We don't have to talk.
Hang on, let me call my wife. We don't need to say anything about this. My wife loves this movie, and she doesn't have any good reasons for it.
I love this movie too, man.
Do you have any good reasons for it?
No, it's a childhood thing. I mean, it's she finds the little girl believes that Prancer has been escaped or misplaced from Santa's sleigh, and she finds a reindeer, and she thinks that it's the actual Prancer. And it's a little magical tale, man.
Sam Elliott's in this too.
Another Sam Elliott.
Yeah. Then there's Real Steel. This movie is better than I gave it credit for. But
what is it?
Real Steel, the Hugh Jackman robot fighting movie.
Yeah,
it's
Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
It's by no means a total success, but when I saw trailers for this, I was like, "Give me a fucking break."
Me too.
And then I watched it, and I was like, I kind of like this.
Well,
it's kind of decent.
And the effects in this movie are fucking spectacular.
Yeah.
The way that they make the robots move in relation to how Hugh Jackman's moving and everything, really, really, that's what was so unexpected for me. It's a touching story. It's father-son thing. But, those effects, you really believe that they were beating the shit out of each other. More so than a Transformers movie or something like that.
I think it was you that wrote the one sin when we did this. That I thought was really funny. He gives the kid some hamburgers or whatever, and it was it had to have been hours since he bought them and then gave them to him, and he, they're super cold. Aren't those hamburgers super cold by the time they get? Oh my God, fucking Reindeer Games.
Reindeer Games.
Oh, wow.
What the hell's going on with this movie, man?
So I know they end up at a Native American casino,
Mm-hmm.
but is that in Michigan? Do they have those in Michigan?
Yeah.
Wow. I bet they do. That sounds like the kind of full of themselves thing that Michigan would do.
I checked this.
I like how we just decided today only to make Michigan a bunch of self-righteous people.
Yeah, that's right.
Boy, again, I've seen this movie probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any good reason for that.
No, except for Charlize Theron.
Yeah, there's a lot of likable people in this.
This is like a very serpentine plot, right?
This just has about 3 too many surprise reveals.
Everything is like a different reveal, right?
Everyone has some
Yeah.
kind of reveal in this movie, and it gets laughable. At some point, I do think that's why I find it watchable, because it just gets so over the top.
Everybody's double-crossing
Can't
everybody,
help
right?
but wonder, everyone. Even when you think, oh, this is the end, it's like, nope, there's still more
Yeah,
double crossing.
it's like Wild Things and Heist and all those movies where it's just kind of, like, every time you think you've hit that final thing, there's like some other like you think when you go back and think on some of these movies, you're like, how in the world did they keep all that?
If we ever seen this movie, the whole video would be let's talk about the villain's plan.
Yeah.
The whole video.
Yeah.
That's another one I saw. I haven't seen it since. Then RoboCop.
Which one? I guess both.
Both of them.
All of them.
All of them.
RoboCop 2, 3, and the remake, and then the original.
The
Yeah.
first one definitely embraces its Detroit setting. It's all over the place.
Although I think the original RoboCop was shot in Dallas. It's like Dallas for
Sounds about right.
Detroit or something like that. But it is. I mean, crime has overridden Detroit. How are we gonna solve this problem? We'll build a big fucking robot.
Yeah, just one.
We'll get a guy who's dead, and we'll put robot parts into him, and he'll be a cyborg.
That's the other thing is that they had to have had all this ready to go, and they're just waiting for a cop to die, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yes,
I think that's exactly what the movie is saying. In fact, I don't think they even shy away from it.
Okay.
Like, I think there's a point where Miguel
Ferrer.
Mhm.
is I think at some point he's like, we finally got our chance or whatever.
yeah, okay.
He says something along those lines or whatever. Probably doesn't say that.
That's
at all.
dark, man. That's
Yeah.
dark as hell.
Yeah,
You
and
can't complete this cop robot without a dead human.
A dead cop.
A dead cop human.
Yeah, you're right. And then I think at some point RoboCop stumbles on a big plot with the main chief of police and whatever, and so they build this other they build this at the first. They build this gigantic machine only robot, and it sucks. It's terrible. And then later on, they've improved it and everything. The what is it they call it?
Ed 209.
Ed 209. Because at the beginning, it's almost funny how they set this up, where it's like, here's the Ed 209, and he's and it's like, here. They give somebody in the boardroom a gun. It's like, point this gun at him or whatever. And he's like, okay. And he points the gun, and he's like, please put down the gun, comply or whatever. And he puts the gun down, and the robot keeps going, please put the gun down, comply. And he just blows that motherfucker away.
Yes, man. He kills his ass.
Yeah.
Do you guys like this movie?
Okay. I think there are two kinds of people.
Hmm?
People who like this movie and think it's great.
I like it.
And people who like this movie more for nostalgia reasons than quality reasons.
Yeah,
I'm in the latter group. I actually have seen this. Well, we sinned it, so
Yeah.
I've seen it in the last 5
Oh, I
years.
didn't
We
realize
either
it was
sinned it or counted up the damage in it, one of the two.
We definitely send it.
And so, because the new one came out.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it's pretty dated here and there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of it, the
But
performances.
it's another Verhoeven where there's a lot of satire in it and everything.
Yeah.
Like I've said before, I'm not on board with Verhoeven, whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I don't have anywhere near the affection or love for this movie that I have for Total Recall.
Mm.
But an outsider might look at both of those two movies and see them as very similar. So maybe it's just my experience with RoboCop.
It's got a lot of the
was
same
different.
beats. It's got a lot of isn't this the one that has the I buy that for $1
Yeah,
type of
I buy that for $1.
like the super over the top, like
Which was
just kind of
later
wacky.
later used in the arcade game Smash TV, if you ever remember that. You remember Smash TV? Smash TV is a sort of a Running Man type arcade game. It was hard as fuck. You had two joysticks, one to control where you shot and one to control where you went in the arena. And, just gobs and gobs of enemies are coming in and you shoot them and like, cash starts showing up and all this other type of stuff. It was a fun game, but like, as you're going through it, like the announcer guy will show up on the screen and be like, "I buy that for $1."
Oh, that's
and
fun.
stuff like that. RoboCop, I'm okay with it. When we send it, I noticed a lot of the cracks in the surface, but I overall enjoy this one. Roger and Me, Michael Moore.
Is this his first big one?
I believe this was his first. It might even be his first ever.
Oh yeah.
This is the documentary about Ford and when they laid off a whole bunch of people. And
Not to be confused with Mac and Me.
That's right.
The movie Paul Rudd shows clips of every time he goes on the talk show.
That's correct. Michael Moore goes around and shows the lives of the people around Flint, Michigan, and shows what they're doing while they're being, unemployed and everything. You got one woman there who's like skinning rabbits, and stuff like that, and it's just it's awful and everything. And of course, there's a whole bunch of him trying to get into the Ford Motor Corporation or whatever, trying to get in for an interview with Roger Smith. And there's a lot of scenes in there where he's like on the doorstep and guards are coming out, turn that camera off and blah 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 and everything. Really good. This is before Michael Moore got I don't know if you would say shitty is the right. I mean, you
think he got shit? I think he's still
there. His documentaries are just way too one-sided and put him in it too much, and like even stuff like Fahrenheit 9/11, which was his Oscar-winning one. Like at the very beginning, it's like showing George Bush getting his tie straightened and everything, and it's like, oh, what an asshole!
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much: I have a not very high opinion of Michael Moore. In fact, we have a Sins video coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow, as we record this, 2 weeks ago, as you listen to it for Pitch Perfect 3. Where have you seen this movie?
Yes.
Okay, so where Higgins and Elizabeth Banks are running after Anna Kendrick on the sidewalk in like a city, and they're like narrating their documentary. The sin I wrote is Michael Moore would call this a documentary.
Yeah.
Because what did it for me was actually the one before that. It was Bowling for Columbine. We did the whole thing going to Charlton Heston's house and basically manipulating the situation in ways that would make him look good and Heston look bad, and yet he keeps calling his films documentaries. And at some point, yes, if you point a camera at something, you have influence over the thing you're filming, and no documentary is purely just showing you something.
There's a way to make your point without inserting yourself into it, and yes, you need to have a perspective. But I feel like you need to kind of have some. Because
doesn't he go to like the company, either Walmart or some company that sells guns?
He
goes
does go
to their
to
headquarters and starts making a bunch of noise. That's the Tom Green of filmmaking.
I mean, he brought a dude that was injured by one of their guns.
Exactly, it's stunt filmmaking. You're not actually trying to have a conversation. You're trying to gotcha people.
That's the point, because there is a point. To a lot of these things.
I'm saying politically, I agree with a lot of what he's trying to say.
Yeah, the method by which he goes about this is, it's entertaining. It does have a point. Sometimes it's what I think is the right point.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just his brand of doing things. And sometimes, especially when I'm like on board with what he's saying, like I'll be like, yeah, man, good, stick it to the man, like he did in Roger and Me. This is a story that needed to be told, and I think I only told it because it was so personally affecting to him, because he's from Flint.
He's from Flint, right?
Yeah. So it's a story that maybe if you sanitize it and you get a meeting with Roger Smith and he's got time to prepare and he's gone through his lawyers and stuff like that, then you're going to get a different story than if you're going guerrilla style.
Then
and that kind of thing.
Why make a movie to expose this travesty as opposed to going to 60 Minutes? Like, aren't there other ways to make noise if there's an injustice?
Well, I mean, there's a financial thing too.
I
mean, he got paid for it.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I got a bad taste in my mouth about that dude.
I completely understand it, and I probably enjoy his movies more. They're never really about anything that's enjoyable.
No, they're always sad and hard to watch.
But I mean, the way that he does it, and he uses cartoons in some things, and he uses actual interviews.
Well,
And
Matt Stone wasn't very happy about how he was used in Bowling for Columbine.
Oh, he wasn't?
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what exactly it was. That South Park like cartoon, I don't think they were happy about what they put in Bowling for Columbine, but I know that he was not happy with how Bowling for Columbine. That's why later on in Team America they were making fun of him and everything about how he is so very fat. That's the joke.
He is.
Yeah,
he's a big boy.
But anyway, yeah, that's an interesting thing we need to discuss at some point. Michael Moore's documentary style, is that something that I feel like that's way over the line.
Well, do you watch John Oliver on HBO and consider that a documentary?
No.
Or do you consider it a one-sided comedy-tinged news program like I do?
Yeah.
That you either agree with or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what Michael Moore's doing. He just calls them documentaries. I wish if he would call them opinion movies, if he would give them titles and call them something else. But sliding into that documentary that for so long was a sacred place, the documentary category, and he's blurring that line, and it frustrates me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You could call them editorials, not documentaries.
That's a good one. Yeah.
there you go.
Mhm.
We just solved the problem.
There it is.
Yeah. Then there's a semi-pro. This was a time where Will Ferrell took every sports comedy known to man. Everything was sports comedy. And it'll probably end up being only 3 sports comedies. By the time
you had Blades of
Kicking and
Glory,
Screaming, Blades of Glory, Semi-Pro,
and then
car one.
Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
And then he did that, not a movie, but he did that baseball thing for spring training where he played for every team in spring training.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
forgot.
basically a sports comedy.
I actually caught Semi-Pro 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's the aesthetic that he was going for, like the scuzzy Detroit, 70s feel and everything.
Yeah.
But it's not a good movie.
No.
It's Woody Harrelson. I mean, there's something about this movie because it's got all the elements of the ones that I love, like Talladega Nights and stuff like that. But it's scuzzed up enough to where it's, I don't know.
It does have a funny moment in it though, where Woody Harrelson is about to have sex with this Rob Corddry's wife, and Rob Corddry's like, "Oh, my wife's having sex with that guy."
Yeah, he's my favorite basketball player.
Yeah.
He slides in and watches it.
Yeah.
Is it Maura Tierney?
Oh, it could be.
I think it is Maura
It
Tierney.
could be Maura Tierney. But and there's some, and
that's right.
Isn't there's another one where another part where he like a grizzly bear gets loose.
Yeah.
They bring the bear. Yeah.
He's like, this is a bad decision.
Yeah. Then there's Tape. Richard Linklater made a movie with Robert Sean Leonard, Uma Thurman, and Ethan Hawke.
And that's it.
And yeah, that's it.
Have you
And
seen this?
Yes, I have.
Oh man,
This is good. And then I think of all, like, this movie was made before Me Too movement. And this is a Me Too type movie. Don't you think?
I'm trying to think of what are you referring to?
So Robert Sean Leonard is either accused by Ethan Hawke or Ethan Hawke accused Robert Sean Leonard of doing something with Uma Thurman and Uma Thurman wants to forget about it.
Oh,
And-
I forgot about that aspect of it. I know that they had sex while she was dating the other one.
By the end of it, she's like, "You know what you did. I don't want to hear you're sorry for it." Blah 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 blah. Now, I haven't seen Tape in forever, so maybe I'm misremembering whatever.
I'll look into
But
that.
I do believe that's kind of how that movie goes. It's
Man.
a dialogue-driven thing. It's a hotel room the entire time.
Yeah. It's dialogue driven just like the before trilogy. And of course Ethan Hawke is in there too, but yeah, the sings, man. I mean, just the back and forth between these three. You can tell that they had spent a lot of time together, probably in that room, running over this and doing it essentially like a play. I think he recorded it on a camcorder.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them spent time filming Dead Poets Society. Spent time together.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
I forgot about
Yep.
that.
That was 12 years prior.
I'll tell you what, I love me some Robert Sean Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I do
man.
too.
I mean, I pretty much like anything that he's like his performance in anything. Like he's
I don't
great in
think
House.
the show House works without his character.
Definitely not. Definitely
And
not.
without him playing it so well. You have to have somebody that can talk to House that way when nobody else can.
Yeah.
And he made that show work.
Yeah, especially because he essentially sometimes enables him because he's going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And he'll just be like, I'm going to let this go and then pick my battle somewhere else. And that was a frustrating part of the show to me, but he plays it just perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what that movie's about.
Interesting.
I mean,
forgot
at least
about that
part
part
of it. At least part of it. And it's complex.
Mhm.
It's one of those that doesn't have easy answers.
I want to watch this again.
I
This
do
was like
too.
2001.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah.
I do want to see this again. It's one of those movies where you're like, I don't know exactly what happened, and they kind of keep it under a cloud for a really long time, especially the way Uma Thurman acts in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good stuff. Then there's True Romance.
Yeah. This is where they meet, where Alabama and Christian Slater meet.
Yeah.
And they end up obviously going out to L.A. and hooking up with Balthazar Getty and everything. But I think that Balthazar Getty, that Balky Bartokomous.
Bronson Pinchot.
Bronson Pinchot. But in Michigan is where that great Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper scene.
Oh,
is.
yeah. Can I have
yeah.
one of those Chesterfields now?
One of the greatest scenes, I think, of the last 30 years.
A buddy of mine texted me the other night and said, "Is True Romance any good?" And I was like, "Yeah." Are your kids around?
No kidding.
And he was like, "No," and I was like, "Yeah." And then we started talking about it. He's like, "Oh, I think I've seen this." He was like, "Isn't Christopher Walken in this?" And I was like, "Brad Pitt is in this, dude. Like, you're not prepared for how many people are in this movie."
No kidding.
I love it. I have to see it again. It's probably been a good 10 years since I've seen it, from start to finish. But I watched it a bunch in college.
Tarantino sold this script first. And was able to make Reservoir Dogs from it. And then Tony Scott ended up directing True Romance, even though it's very Tarantino. And
it's a really nice marriage of those two styles.
It
though.
is. It is.
Because you need like this over-the-top action, shit flying everywhere, but then with that stuff coming out of their mouth, it just works on every. This is like. You wouldn't expect this to become a classic when it came out.
Yeah.
But like the more and more people watch it, the more like people are texting like, is this any good? They're going to become fans and tell their friends about it.
Oh yeah. And it's just everybody who's in it turns in a fun performance.
Yeah.
Everybody.
This is this possibly Christian Slater's last big, good leading role?
I was watching him in something fairly recently. And yes, I think so. I mean, well, he's apparently really good in Mr. Robot. I've never watched Mr. Robot.
Oh, I haven't either.
But he's sort of been fine being in the background.
Yeah, actually,
now,
he's not leading
recently. So like a lot of his stuff that we see now is he's sort of he's sort of a supporting character, even in like stuff like Archer, where he's basically playing himself. in Archer. He's good. He's good at that. I mean, he's good being.
I'm almost surprised that he's not in this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Everybody else in Hollywood is in that movie.
Right.
And they're all usually white men.
Yeah.
It's a weird time for that. I mean, because they're all white, but he's kind of telling a story about a bunch of white people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm not going to judge the casting just yet.
That's true.
The cast in terms of talent is outstanding.
Yeah.
No
I
kidding.
can't wait to see the movie.
And then it's like those super teams like in the NBA where like Golden State will like win a championship and get to the finals and then they'll add Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
It's like when they added Pacino to this after all that shit. I was like, are you kidding me?
The True Romance, yes. Besides the Christian Slater, who's really rocking it in this movie, you have Gary Oldman as in his scene as a drug dealer. It's fantastic. Must be White Boy Day. Like Jerry alluded to, Brad Pitt, don't condescend me, man. Kick your ass, man. James Gandolfini's in it.
Yeah, that's right.
He beats the shit out of her.
Yeah, Patricia Arquette, who's really, really cute in this movie.
Oh yeah,
She is.
And Michael Rappaport, Chris Penn's in it.
Yep.
I think Samuel Jackson is in it for a brief moment.
Bronson Pinchot.
Yeah, exactly.
And Daphne's fiance from Frasier is the guy with Bronson Pinchot, the movie producer guy that they're trying to make the deal with.
Saul Rubinek, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of the actors. He's
Wow.
got a whole arc on Frasier where he starts out as Niles' divorce attorney and ends up engaged to Daphne, and then Daphne leaves him at the altar to be with Niles.
I do remember that episode.
Yeah. So yeah, good movie. Then there is Tucker, the Man in His Dream.
What do you think of this movie?
Jesus.
I haven't seen it in forever. I didn't like it too much.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh, really?
I probably haven't seen it in 15 years and didn't like it.
Francis Ford Coppola.
This is Francis Ford Coppola's last, like, probably widely considered as being a decent movie.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't remember it being considered decent, actually.
I think so. So this is Jeff Bridges and playing a really compelling story. This guy is an automaker that's trying to fight the big ones, you know, the Fords and the GMCs and all that stuff. And he makes a terrific, brilliant car. And he just can't get the funding for the manufacturing.
But it's way too expensive.
It's way too expensive.
Isn't it loosely based on a real guy?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Matter of fact, at Coppola's Vineyard in Napa Valley, he's got a full-size Tucker car.
Oh,
there.
really?
Yeah. And I like this movie a lot. I like Jeff Bridges in this movie.
Like I said, I haven't seen it in forever, but I don't remember it being too good for me. But
I mean, it's coming on the heels of Apocalypse Now and what else?
Well, he had. This is like 1988, 89.
Yeah, 88.
So he had done Cotton Club and he'd done
Cotton Club.
Outsiders and all that. He definitely hadn't gotten to his Jack phase yet. But
it's at 6.9 on IMDb, 84% Rotten Tomatoes. So,
but it does show like if you know. An idea is one thing, but if you can't make it affordable and for everybody, then you know it's bound to fail.
Yeah.
And then we have Sofia Coppola's The Virgin Suicides.
Yeah.
Wow, that doesn't strike me as a super Michigan-y film either.
It's like Ann Arbor or something like that.
This might be one of the few Josh Hartnett performances I like.
He's pretty
It's
good.
actually in Grosse Pointe is where this is set.
Really?
Yeah.
But this movie's got 1 million people in it.
Yeah.
James Woods and Kathleen Turner.
And Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst. One of her other sisters is somebody famous now. Josh Hartnett.
There's
Kid Across the Street.
Scott Glenn, Danny DeVito. Oh, Hannah Hall, who played young Jenny in Forrest Gump, is in this.
Oh, wow.
Hayden Christensen is in it.
Oh yeah, Hayden Christensen.
So we like this movie, right?
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do. I very much.
I
so.
mean, it's, given what your journey in life has been like, it may be harder to watch than other films. I don't know.
it is depressing as fuck.
It
and
is.
It's
got,
atmospheric.
but yes, that's the thing about it that sort of draws you in, and she's kept that throughout her entire career.
Yeah,
And it works sometimes and it doesn't in others.
Right. I was telling Chris that my wife was watching The Beguiled
Yeah.
a couple of days ago, and you've seen this, right?
Yeah.
And she was describing it as like a misery type of thing.
It kind of is. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
But I saw just a few minutes of it, and it kind of had that vibe, like super gauzy, atmospheric.
Yeah, again, Marie Antoinette is on in our house a couple times a year because it looks so pretty.
Yeah.
And it sets that tone so well. She's got talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just she doesn't always put it all together the way she does here or with Lost in Translation.
This one has more story, I think.
It
Virgin
does. They tell you
Suicides.
right up front, all these girls kill themselves together in some kind of a weird sister pact. Now here's the last few days of their lives. And, it's great, though.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so now you have the
Trip Fontaine. That's who Hartnett plays. That just came to me. His name is Trip Fontaine. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong.
Trip Fontaine.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have the rundown, and I'm going to introduce a couple of others into this list. But first, we'll go through the ones here. Action Jackson, never saw it.
Carl Weathers, right?
Yeah, Carl Weathers. This is one of those movies that every time I walked into a video store in the 80s, I would somehow run into Action Jackson.
Well, it's on the A's. You see that the first thing.
Yeah. Never saw it, though. Anybody else see
Nope.
Action Jackson? Alex Cross, which was the Tyler Perry version of Alex
I have
Cross.
seen this.
Oh, really?
This was back when I was doing reviews with Dicer for his podcast, but before Cinemasins was really doing anything. And so, yeah, the guy from Party of Five is in this. Well, the guy from Lost, too. I can't think of his name. Matthew Fox. Matthew Fox.
Oh, yeah.
He's the psycho killer. It goes a little too far over the top.
Oh, my. I couldn't even imagine him playing that kind of character.
Yeah.
So he probably just decided to mash down on the
It's
accelerator.
not good. Like, it's so bad, I ended up feeling sorry for Tyler Perry.
What is the other version of Alex Cross?
It's Morgan Freeman, Kiss the Girls, and
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Along Came a Spider.
Yeah.
And those are both watchable, if not great. There were doors, there were walls. So yeah, this is trying to a la Jack Ryan, youngify the character to jumpstart a new franchise, but then they only gave it like a $2 million budget, and it shows at every turn.
Oh,
It's
really?
It's one of the worst movies I've seen.
Then there is Anatomy of a Murder, which sounds like a Hitchcock movie, but it's not.
It's not, but it's around that area.
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like
it's
the
got
era.
James Stewart in it and everything. It was Otto Preminger made this movie.
Okay.
But I don't know if I've ever seen Anatomy of a Murder.
I've seen the poster about 1 million times, and I could have sworn it was a Hitchcock movie because it was like
Yeah.
1958 or something like
It was
that.
59, and it's got an 8.1 IMDb.
Yeah, have to check it out.
I may have seen this, but I don't remember anything about it. Yeah, apparently it's really, really good. Then there's now, is this Center Stage Turn It Up? That's the sequel to Center Stage?
Yeah.
Well, the
Did you
first
ever
one
see
takes
Center
place
Stage?
in New York City, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
At, like Juilliard. I saw the first one. It's okay. Zoe Saldana's in that.
Yeah.
It's like one of the first roles that I ever saw her from.
Huh.
Yeah.
You didn't see Turn It Up?
I didn't see Turn It Up.
I didn't see the sequel. No.
Then there is The Company You Keep, the Robert Redford Shia LaBeouf movie.
I did see that.
Okay.
I figured this is something that you would see for whatever reason, because Redford like produced, directed, acts in it, and everything.
I'm trying to remember because I also saw the one where Redford plays Tom Brokaw like the same week.
Oh,
or Dan
really?
Rather, whichever that one was.
Oh
The
God,
one
I
that's
forgot
got,
about that.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
though?
yeah.
What, Up Close and Personal?
No. No, it's actually more a movie about his producer. Kate Blanchett plays her. But Redford's in the film, and it's about the scandal when they got something wrong about Bush being a fighter pilot or something.
Oh, that'd be Rather then.
Yeah. And so I saw that the same week I saw this, and they bleed together a bit. But if I'm not mistaken, Redford's some kind of guy that Shia is chasing a news story. Shia's a journalist, and he's trying to get this guy to complete his story or something. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
he was a member. Redford was a member of the Weather Underground, the anti-Vietnam stuff.
That's right.
And he's trying to get his story.
Right.
And Shia's all like, scuzzed up for this, even more so than he normally is now.
Yeah, no, he scuzzed up pretty hard. Yeah, it was watchable, but not great.
Yeah. Then there's a movie called Flint. I've never seen that.
That was the dramatic representation of the Flint water crisis.
The water thing. Okay.
And somehow Michael Moore wasn't involved in that.
No. I think he has actually made at least like some sort of short on the water crisis, but I don't think he's done a few.
Can I ask a question? Is that still going on?
Depends on who you ask.
Well, that shouldn't be the case.
Exactly.
This should be something knowable.
Well, I was actually listening on the way over here to an NPR report about this doctor, this pediatrician, that proved without a shadow of a doubt that these were toxic levels, and the city government and the state government were shutting her down at every turn, discrediting her as a physician, and it's just a big fucking mess. So now they're saying everything's cool now, completely, replace the lead and everything, but there are reports that they haven't completely cleaned all that
I'm
up.
legit impressed those people haven't rioted yet.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine? I can't imagine.
Well, and, at the same time, how many places is this going on? We just haven't figured it out yet.
Probably a lot.
Yeah. God, we
Yep.
suck. We are so
we really,
sucky.
we really are.
We're terrible.
Yeah.
Then there's Four Brothers. This is a Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese Gibson, Andre Benjamin, and Garrett Hedlund movie.
I saw this everywhere. I saw like this on demand. I saw it in the video
It's a
stores
decent
and everything.
movie.
Is it good?
Yeah. I don't remember much about it, but I remember thinking it was all right.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about it.
And then Gridlocked. Without the E and there's
Tupac?
apostrophe. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tupac. I never saw this.
I didn't know that.
Tupac.
Yeah. Then there's a movie called Hardcore. What is that about?
You're not hardcore.
Jeremy, you can at least see
Unless
this.
you live
Come over
hardcore.
and look at this poster.
Oh my God, that's my daughter, and it's got a guy with his head in his hands.
What year was this?
1979.
George C. Scott.
George C. Scott, Peter Boyle.
Finding his daughter in porn?
Yes.
Holy shit!
The poster is literally black on top, white on the bottom. It says, "Oh my God, that's my daughter."
And it's him going,
Yeah, he's got his hands on his head, and there's a picture on the IMDb of Scott on the phone and a girl with her legs spread in front of him, and he's just on the phone with a cigarette smoke around him. And like you look at the next picture is that girl on the phone, and she's just got her legs spread out in front of him, and she's
Oh my
like,
God.
I wonder if that's his daughter. That'd be be fucking crazy.
God. I have never seen this. I didn't even know it existed. But don't even try to Google it, please.
No.
Hardcore movie. Yeah, don't.
That's impossible.
Yes, it's impossible.
Really, the only way you can go about this is the IMDb and
Yes.
find the 1979.
Be safe out there.
Yeah, be safe out there. Then there's Only Lovers Left Alive. I haven't seen that.
I want to. This is Jim Jarmusch and Tilda Swinton, and I forget the guy that's in this. It's a vampire movie.
Jason Patrick.
Yep, that's right. That's correct.
But apparently it's gorgeous. It's about like two vampires that are in love with each other that span the course of centuries.
That's intriguing.
And I'm always on the Jim Jarmusch
Yeah,
train.
yeah.
So.
And then there's Need for Speed. That's isn't that
Aaron Paul.
Aaron Paul, yeah.
I saw that.
Oh yeah, how is that?
Look, if you have enough money to throw at Aaron Paul and make your movie look as slick as Fast and Furious and get all these badass cars, you have enough money to hire somebody to write a story.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any story to this.
There's
right?
no story. There's less story than a Fast and Furious movie.
It's based on a video game, right?
Yes. Well, yes, it is based on a video game. Just sort of a universal bad sign. But it's just clearly another studio going, Fast and Furious is so goddamn popular. Let's get some more pretty faces and fast cars in our own franchise. And then they literally stopped doing work after that. And it's just bland as hell.
Yeah. I think they were trying to get that Fast and Furious cash because they came out with it in like April, I think, or whatever. Yep. And they thought, well, if we come out with this fast car movie in April, it'll do like Fast and Furious.
Well, and there's like a pretty girl, and like one of his buddies is somebody who went on to be something. They cast well enough. They just didn't make a decent movie.
Then there's The Road to Wellville. This is a movie about, this is where Anthony Hopkins plays Kellogg.
Yep.
And,
Kellogg was a fucked up dude, man.
Yeah, and it's like what is the main thing that he's trying to do?
If it follows the real story of Kellogg, who invented the cereal and was also like this super conservative doctor in Michigan, he would be like super anti-masturbation, super anti-sex outside of any marital construct or anything like that. And like living a clean life, but clean life meaning like puritanical in his point of view.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much the movie goes into.
I remember Matthew Broderick was in it, and I think Bridget Fonda was in it. The only thing I remember about The Road to Wellville was there was a part. Of course, I think I was 15 when this movie came out. So the only thing I really remember about it is that there's a part where he's upset that Matthew Broderick's stool is not as big as it should be or whatever. And he's like, look at mine. It's gigantic. And that's the only thing that I remember about that movie.
All right. Well, I know I saw it. I literally remember nothing.
Yeah.
I couldn't have even told you that.
Yeah. It probably has something to do with what you're talking about.
That guy was fucked up,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And then there's Why Him. I never saw that.
Oh, I did.
Did you see that? I kind of was interested in it.
I mean, it held my attention better than The Internship. But it's not very good.
Is it not funny?
It's not funny.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the problem, I think, is that it's going to be more difficult for him to turn that corner back to Malcolm in the Middle dad style comedy after Breaking Bad.
This is Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, and be able to sell it. And then you cast James Franco.
Yep.
To play James Franco light.
Yeah.
Basically, like everything he's doing that the movie is telling you is over the top and crude seems like everyday James Franco shit.
Yeah.
And so just none of it really lands very well. And at least it's short. I remember it being short.
Nice.
I know Zoe Dutch is in this too.
Yeah.
Zoe Dutch. And I did not realize until the Maltons came out here that she is Leah Thompson's daughter.
Oh, wow.
It makes a lot of sense when you see her and everything. I just for whatever reason, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's a couple others that I wanted to bring up, and not because they're any, super great or anything, but there was an HBO show called Hung, which was based in Detroit.
The Punisher, right?
Yeah, it had Thomas Jane.
Yeah.
Thomas Jane.
He's a mimbo.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a very giant penis, apparently.
He's a male bimbo.
Yeah.
He's a bimbo.
And so like to earn money, he's selling himself to women, and he's got a variety of people who try to pimp him out throughout the movie. One's Jane Addams tries to do it, and then there's another woman who tries to, and then like another guy comes in, a guy from Walking Dead. I know who was in the first episode of The Walking Dead, the black guy that was in
Lenny James.
Lenny James. He's in it for a while, and he's like, dude, you need to start having sex with other dudes before, if you're going to make any money doing this and everything. And second season, it just petered out completely.
Petered out.
Nice.
I wish that were unintentional. And then there was another one. Somebody on Facebook was like, when you get to Michigan, watch this movie. And I watched it. It was a Jeff Daniels directorial debut, and it's called Escanaba in the Moonlight. Escanaba is a town in Michigan, and it's on the UP because you hear the UP a bunch in this and whatever. It is about a guy who is in his 40s who has never bagged a buck in his life, and his family is like, oh, you're such a loser for not ever landing a buck in your life. So they go out, they have an annual hunting trip, and they go out to this cabin, and then it is a crazy-ass movie that becomes very much like a combination of like Evil Dead and like Strange Brew or whatever, because it's a comedy, essentially. Jeff Daniels, there's like a point where aliens are involved. There's a point where a park ranger shows up and claims he's seen God around the camp. There is there's a part where where Jeff Daniels gets in a trance and they have to get one of the brothers to fart in his face in order to get him out of that trance. It is such a goofy movie, and it's perfectly harmless, totally fine as what it is. You can tell it's kind of a cheaply made whatever.
Interesting. Would you recommend it?
It's a novelty. I would say, yeah, if you have any time at all. Like, I mean, just to see Jeff Daniels directing his first movie, that's sort of an interest point to it. But it's got some moments in it. It'd be a wreck of Warren probably if I were to say anything about it. But yeah, it's I was wondering about Jeff Daniels. Apparently, he was born in Atlanta, but he moved to Michigan. That's Michigan, folks.
That's Michigan.
Yeah.
Nothing else was ever made about Michigan.
Nope. That's correct.
This is it. This encompasses everything.
This had a lot of movies that I liked on it.
Yeah. This is one of the first ones that almost every one of them that you listed I'd seen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's there's very few in this list I haven't seen.
You want to run through some questions?
Yeah.
Question. I got something to say. I want the truth. I am listening.
Oh, I like this question. Slightly weird question, but I think it could be entertaining to see where you guys take this. What is the sexiest non-sex scene in a movie? This person's pick is the shower scene from Pitch Perfect with Anna Kendrick and Brittany Snow.
Yeah, my God, that's a great scene.
Yep.
Yeah, although my response, I do feel it's a little bit cheating to say your sexy scene that's not a sex scene is one that contains two hot naked ladies.
Yeah, but they're not sexing.
No, they're not, but, neither is Charlize in the pool in Reindeer Games.
What's the deal with
naked?
With Brittany Snow, where she's like, is she always like grabbing her boobs or something like that?
I think just the fact that she's just standing there and talking to her.
She just rips open the curtain, and Anna Kendrick is like, we're both naked here.
She grabs her boobs in Pitch Perfect 3.
She does.
Just for no reason whatsoever.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of things that happen in Pitch Perfect 3 for no reason whatsoever. The
like
whole
John
fucking
Lithgow's
movie.
accent.
So I decided I forced myself into a very strict interpretation of this question. I'm not going to force you guys to follow the same rule, but I wanted to find something that didn't have naked ladies in it, and that was not even traditionally sexual. So I went with, there's two scenes in the movie Chef. There's actually several scenes in the movie Chef where he's prepping food that are awesome. But there's two in the first 20 minutes. The very opening scene is him doing some prep. But then there's a section where he's basically making a tasting menu. And you see it's about maybe a minute and a half long. I watched the scene again yesterday. Oh, it's I like it like that. I like it like that. I like, and he's like doing all this cutting, and God, I want to have sex with that food.
Yeah,
that food scene gives me food boners.
I'm telling you, man. When he's because I think it pans down when he's cutting like at the superhuman speed.
Yes,
and he's not even looking at the knife. He's like looking over there, and it pans down. He's like,
yeah, because he actually trained with people like David Chang and other chefs. Like,
was that actually him? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, was that actually him doing all the knife
it pans down.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could have cut it at the thing, but I've seen behind the scenes footage of him in the kitchen with famous ass chefs learning. It was very important to him to be authentic, and when you watch this meal prep scene, if you've watched any food shows with real chefs like I have, you can tell. Like
Oh yeah.
It looks like he's really that
It's
good
all
in the
like
kitchen.
uniform and all that stuff. Yeah,
and well, just all the moves he makes, from just the way he drops the garlic cloves into the blender. It's the way, Bourdain and Chef Ramsay and all these other chefs do it. He just carries himself in that kitchen so authentically. I bet real chefs fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
sexy.
that scene was my favorite the first time I saw the movie. But that's some sexy shit.
Yeah,
Food is
for
sexy.
sure. Mine is going to be in Before Sunset. There is so setting this up, before sunrise, Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke have a conversation. Were they in Paris? I think they're in Paris in the second movie. In the first movie, they're in
Europe.
They're in
somewhere,
Europe, but I don't know if
between.
it's Paris. Anyway, the Before Sunrise is such a great movie. It's just a walk and talk throughout the whole thing. Very romantic movie. And so like by the end of it, they say we're going to see each other in 10 years in the same spot and whatever. 10 years later, they make Before Sunset. And I think sort of by some serendipity, they've run into each other again. And so they're having it's another one of these where they're walking and talking and everything. By the end of it, Ethan Hawke has to catch a plane. He has to go back to the States, and he's sitting in her apartment on a chair, and she starts dancing to this song or whatever. And it's like, he's pretty much late for his plane already, but they have this long conversation in her apartment, and she's dancing. Of course, Julie Delpy is one of the most beautiful women in the world. And she's dancing, and she's like, at the very end, I mean, this is a very ending line. She goes, "You're gonna miss that plane." And he's just looking at her like, "Yeah, I am. I'm gonna miss that plane."
That's a great scene.
Yeah, it really is.
I love the one. I think it's the first movie. It's not quite so sexy, but I think they're in an elevator and they just take turns looking at each other when the other one's not looking at them.
Yeah.
And they do it like 6 times back and forth, and it's just so organic. Like you almost have to believe they were falling in love for real while they were shooting that scene.
It's so like I feel that way too. Like I feel like they almost should be together.
Yeah,
like that's how good they are in everything. And like you watch that whole trilogy, and you're like, damn man, it feels like you guys are together. And then they show up in what's the Waking Life? They show up.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if I think they are playing the same characters in that too. Of course, it's all Richard Linklater and everything. But yeah, that scene. She's dancing.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I did not keep myself to your parameters, Jeremy.
I didn't say you had to.
I got a couple. One is just so obvious that I have to mention it, but it's cheating. It's Salma Hayek's dance in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yep.
And there's no sex involved or anything like that. There's a little bit of toe sucking happening, but that's a Tarantino thing.
Some people would actually define that as sex. Just FYI.
Possibly. But it's a band called Tito and the Tarantula is the house band at the Titty Twister. And they play this song called After Dark. And it's Santanica Pandemonium is her character. And she's the head vampiress or whatever. And she comes out to do not even a striptease. It's a strip club. It's just a dance.
Yeah.
And it's this wonderful like Mexican beat. And she does her whole like writhing thing with the snake, and then she starts walking on the fucking tables. And the funniest thing about this is she's walking towards Quentin Tarantino, and George Clooney, like once she walks past him, he's shocked. He's this hardened criminal, this Seth Gecko guy, and as she walks by, he's just like backing off almost because he can't handle the sexy.
Man.
And she's going straight for Tarantino, and she takes this bottle of whiskey and puts her leg up to her mouth and just trickles it down her toe.
Man.
Jesus Christ.
1996 Salma Hayek was a bad motherfucker.
Well, yes. And God bless her. I mean, I'm trying to do this without being pervy, but she's extremely curvy.
Yes.
To where it didn't even look human, but it was.
Yeah.
and it's an incredibly sexy scene. Yeah, that's basically it. I've already out-sexied myself.
Yeah.
Let's do just a couple more. Question for the podcast. Hereditary is one of the best movies I've seen in a theater to utilize the surround sound in an effective way. I assume Quiet Place should be in this category, too. I don't know if the surround sound is a thing.
I think there is some good surround sound in that. I don't remember there. I mean, it would be very sparse if it had been used, but they're right about Hereditary, by the way. The surround sound is phenomenal in that.
What movie, in your opinion, best uses surround sound?
Now, I know that I've probably seen better movies and better implementations of surround sound, but the thing that kept coming up in my head when I was thinking about this question was The Summer of Sam. And and it's because there's a scene where anytime where Spike Lee focuses on Berkowitz at all in it, there's a fly flying around and it's all in the surrounds. So it feels like it's in your head almost. So you're watching it, it's like
that's such a cool little bit.
And the movie itself, I haven't seen it in forever.
It's not very good.
I mean, I like it better than most, but that just seemed particularly effective. I know there's other movies out there that probably done better surround sound, but that was the one that stuck out in my head.
No, that's cool because it's a subtle way to use it rather than, the THX thing or like the things that the shards breaking off and you hear it in the individual speakers.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot to like about Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh yeah.
And we saw this at the famous Chinese theater in L.A., and so the presentation was on point.
Oh, it's so good.
And I walked out of this movie thinking about the sound more than anything. Like the visuals are incredible. And ultimately, I've settled into just appreciating all of it. But that first viewing experience, the way the sound was just dancing all around me was insane. And again, see, one of the things about this question, like I've only ever seen Summer of Sam on my television, and I don't have a surround sound system at home.
Yeah,
I would never have even known that was there. And if you didn't see Mad Max Fury Road in the theater and you don't have a surround sound system at home, you're not going to know all that shit, all the extra effort they went through to make that experience so immersive.
What a singular movie-going experience that was.
Yeah.
I will never fucking forget it. That Mad Max Fury Road shit, man, that was the best fucking thing ever.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a perfect movie to see in that environment.
And that theater was pristine. The film looked gorgeous. The audio was great. The audience participation in the movie, by the end of that sandstorm, you hear everybody just taking a breath. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's that type of thing, man. What a great experience that was.
Yeah.
And then we had a shitty dinner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just couldn't find any place that didn't need a reservation, so we ended up eating at some knockoff of Applebee's that offers you everything.
That was shitty. It was like a steakhouse of some sort, and they took forever to get them to our table, and then like the steaks weren't cooked right.
Yeah, like the Golden Corral does a steak better than this place.
Yeah,
got to hit craft. When I've talked about it before, but I saw The Revenant in the theater, and The Revenant was unbelievable with the sound. Terrifyingly. The other terrifying one, not in a horror movie, was Gravity. Gravity uses the surround sound, especially
for sure
when the debris is approaching and hitting, and there's such a sparse score.
Two of the Three Amigos right there too, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about The Revenant. That's just weird that you said. I was thinking about that movie yesterday. I feel like that movie came out. It was a badass experience. He won an Oscar. Lots of people won Oscars. And I just feel like we just all forgot about that movie.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And it was only like 2 or 3 years ago.
I know.
But I don't feel like I feel like it's been ages since I've heard anybody talk about it.
It's not on any of the regular, pay services or anything like that. I don't think it's on Netflix.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's somehow one of those great movies that almost immediately got lost to time.
Yeah, pretty much. But those are great experiences in the theater. The other one that I wanted to mention is Modern Horrors, our buddies that come over here every October at this point. ModernHorrors.com did a short called Bedtime. Have you seen this? It's called Bedtime. And they were really psyched to post this. And so it's on YouTube. You can find it right now. And you never know what you're going to get from these horror guys, right? I mean, they consume so many different types of horror. Like what are they going to show us that we haven't seen before because they're so knowledgeable about it? And what they did was rely on sound. And you have to watch this with headphones or at full volume, and it will creep you the fuck out. It's a very insular story, told very simply, but the sound is perfect in this.
Yeah,
might Oculus Go this shit.
Oh, that would be fantastic, man.
Oh man, I was gonna say you sold me hard. I'm watching that when I get home.
It's good. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
It's not bloody or anything like that. You want to do one more? Or you want to?
Sure, one more.
Okay, let's do one more. Oh, let's do this because we mentioned it before.
You think we need one more?
Yeah, all right, we'll get one more. What is your favorite time capsule film? As in one where the time period in which it was shot almost seems like a character in and of itself. For example, this person would go with Unfriended, which is a good recent example.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Clueless.
Nice.
If you wanna look at a particular time, 1995, look no further than that movie. That has a performance by the Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah, baby.
Jesus. The way people talk, the dress, everything is very mid 90s. Breckenmeyer is very mid 90s.
Even today.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't look at Breckenmeyer and go, that guy's timeless. He's from the 90s, man.
Every little bit of that. Doesn't Donald Faison have like braces?
Yeah, I think he does.
Like there's just little things in there, and like Dion.
Stacey Dash.
Stacey Dash's wardrobe and all that stuff. Like the little things that they put on it. The fact that. Dude that plays the gay love interest wears like bowling shirts and shit like that, and does his hair like James Dean.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And Alicia Silverstone is, that's 90s as fuck, man. Yeah, although I saw her on Colbert recently, she still looks fucking amazing.
Well, she's got a new show on the Paramount Network.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
It looks like it's like a period, like an 80s or 70s period piece about divorced woman taking control of her own life or something like that. I haven't seen it. Mina Savari's in it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
Oh.
And to promote that, we've come full circle as a society. She went on that lip sync battle show, which I hate.
Oh, really?
And she did that Iggy Azalea song that the video is parodying Clueless.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Fancy.
Huh?
Yeah,
Fancy was the song.
Fancy.
Yeah.
I like that you know that.
I'm so fancy.
But
I
love Clueless, but that is no other era right there.
Yeah.
No,
And
you're right.
if you want to go back in time, just watch that. So.
Well, my answer, I'm not, again, I think I'm sort of breaking from the spirit of the question here. I do that a lot because I don't think this movie is a time capsule of the year it came out. But I do think it's a time capsule. You've Got Mail is my answer.
Yeah.
Now this is a movie.
Well, just about anything technology based, you're going to get this.
Anything right on that cusp between, right before smartphones blew up
Yep.
and are everywhere. And so this movie is just dated as fuck.
Isn't it dial-up that they use?
There's dial-up. There's literally the "You've Got Mail" voice,
Yeah.
and then they've got these fucking brick laptops that are 6 inches thick after you've opened it up, and they're like typing in their bed and whatnot. Don't even think about Wi-Fi or anything like that, and don't even think about how the fuck did these two people ever get each other's email address to begin with. The movie probably explains this, but I always walk in halfway through. My wife was watching it and walk right back out. I fucking hate this movie. Dave Chappelle is in this movie.
Now, I'll tell you really did deviate from this question because they asked what your favorite one was.
Oh, I definitely did. I just thought I was supposed to come up with a good example of a dated.
But you know what? I wanted to say Hackers for a long time.
I almost put Hackers.
Yeah.
I really misread this question.
I mean, a lot of the computer, like Sneakers, even though I think Sneakers manages to go past its datedness by having a one key thing that opens everything, which I don't think has ever been invented yet, as far as we fucking know.
Who knows?
But
I don't know. Did you not see The Dark Knight Rises?
Oh, that's right.
The blank slate.
Yeah, right.
That shit is real, dude.
Forgot about that. But Sneakers has outdated computer stuff in it, but the fact is that it's not like people like, it's not like a big action scene where people are typing and shit. And it's the one key thing that opens everything up. That's how it sort of avoids it. And I thought about War Games.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
The Wizard.
The Wizard. Yeah, for sure. Anything like technology based where they do that kind of stuff is going to be a time capsule.
Yeah. Sorry, question asker. I totally misunderstood the question.
Well, this is one of my favorites, and we're all dancing around a similar time period. But in 1999, there were a bunch of teen movies that came out that presented teens as talking like adults, essentially, acting like adults, and wearing a very specific type of clothing that you would get from like Structure or somewhere in the Eddie Bauer in the mall or something like that. But it was Cruel Intentions, Go, The Mod Squad, and 10 Things I Hate About You. I don't know if those are in sequential order, but they're all like right around that time frame in 1999. And it's just weird because at the time, and I was 18, 19 when these came out. At the time, I thought I was speaking like an adult, and I was super smart and clever. I don't think I was talking like these people. These kids were talking like a 30-year-old screenwriter wrote the way that they think kids are talking these days. And
I think the Scream movies helped push this out too.
Well, it's that and Kevin Smith movies too.
Yeah.
But they just, when you watch something like Cruel Intentions now, let's so go because.
Oh my God, Cruel Intentions is the worst offender.
It really is. It's like this is 1999.
Those guys are acting like they're 35.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
A couple more. I think.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And even in 10 Things I Hate About You is similar too.
Yeah.
But and of course the Mod Squad. The Mod Squad was just a disaster on many levels. But there's just a very late 90s vibe.
You know
to
who's
all
in the
these
Mod
things.
Squad?
Omar Epps.
Josh Brolin.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
By the way, you mentioned Go. This could also be part of a sexiest scene thing, and it's something very simple. Katie Holmes is talking to Timothy Oliphant towards the end, and this is before they're hooking up and everything, and she's like, because for the most part she's been kidnapped and has to stay at his apartment the whole time, but like towards the end where they're like eating breakfast together and everything, there's a point where like he's like, what I like about Christmas? The surprises and all that. But there's this thing that Katie Holmes does, it's so adorable, with her shoulder where she like points it out towards him while she's talking. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jeremy?
I do.
She points it towards him for a little bit and then brings it back. And it's just like, it's such a real type of moment and everything. And Katie Holmes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love me some Katie Holmes. Yeah, so that's a great scene.
That is a good one. 99 was mentioned a lot in this podcast.
Yeah, friend of the show.
That's right.
Friend of the show, 1999. Indeed. That'll do it for this episode. Keep going to Sincast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. Keep going to SoundCloud. Keep going to Twitter. And tell us what you thought about this episode. Anything else that we need to bring up?
I love the comments. We've gotten all kinds of comments. We got a comment on The Covenant.
Oh,
somebody
really?
correcting our logic about The Covenant.
Yeah, they were dropping some knowledge.
Yeah, where they were saying like after 18, if you use your powers, then it ages you. So that's why you get a bunch more power, but you have to like distribute it out over the course of your life. Before 18, you can use it with impunity.
Oh.
That makes it all better.
Makes it better. As you can tell, I forgot about the movie completely after watching it the one time. But it's the whole thing was like more power, and I'm like, what more power do you need? Anyway, yeah, I'm sure we're fucked up about a lot of 70% of the movies that we talk about. We probably fucked.
But it's good. It's good communication.
That's
Keep it
right.
coming.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing I love about the comments is that there's always someone who loves that movie and they know all the things about it, and they're like, tell you stuff and like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Whatever. But anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I watched this weird movie yesterday with Dimitri Martin. like wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
And Kevin Kline is in it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
So like Kevin Kline is his dad, and the mom died of, I guess, cancer like a couple years prior. And so Kevin Kline is having this romance with Mary Steenburgen in New York, but Dimitri Martin has sort of run away from his problems, and he went to visit L.A. and has just never come back.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, something you said reminded me of that movie.
Dean?
Oh, because he meets a girl there at a party, and then accidentally happens back into her later on, and then they
Into her?
Yes.
and well, they do it,
Jillian Jacobs.
and then Jillian Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I
Gillian.
enjoyed it.
It's Gillian.
Jillian Jacobs. That's
I
right.
really enjoyed the film, but all throughout, his character's doodling. He's trying to make some kind of a comic strip book.
Mm-hmm.
And Dimitri Martin is an artist in real life. I think some of these are his real life doodles, but one of them he drove was titled LA Freeways, and it's literally like a single line from San Francisco to LA and LA to San Diego. But at every city, it's just like squiggles, 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 squiggles.
Yeah.
Like he draws this like tornado of squiggles, and it's all these charming little art pieces in this movie. Anyway.
Because there's a stand-up thing that I really love that he does, where he's just sitting there playing his like acoustic guitar, and he goes through all these little, he says a lot of these like little mini stories or whatever, and one of them is about I can't do it justice, but it's basically he's like one day I walked in on my roommate masturbating or whatever. And then he's like, wait a minute, I said that wrong. One day I walked in on my roommate while I was masturbating.
Yeah.
I remember you told me about this.
I was like, so I was like, stripper, eh?
Let's go to the tape.
And so I came home.
That scene where he gets out of the truck and walks towards the hotel and just starts blood punching everybody up into the sky.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was my favorite outtake in a long time, was when you were sitting in here by yourself and it smelled like doo-doo.
I wonder I figured you would hear it eventually.
Well, I almost went past it because there's no waveform right there.
Yeah, it's pretty
and I
low.
was like, oh, there's the spot where we're all gone. And I just scrolled through it and I hear this whisper. I'm like, what the fuck? Amplified the shit out of it. I was like, yeah, it's perfect. And then it's like the end. And
I
that's the end of the
don't
episode.
think I even heard what you called me.
Silly Willy.
Oh, Silly Willy. I was like sitting there like, huh? I went back and heard it a second time. I was like, all right. We ready.
We ready. That's the, did you watch any of the MTV Movie Awards?
I watched all of it. Yeah.
I mean, the Chloe times Halle performance was fine.
Yeah.
But like,
what upset me about that though is that they have two songs that are out.
Yeah.
One is the one that's on the Wrinkle in Time soundtrack, and that's the best one.
mm-hmm.
And they played that for 2 minutes.
Was that the first one?
Yeah, it was the first
medley?
one.
Yeah.
It was like a minute, and
Yeah.
then they went into the Kids Are All Right, which is a good song, but it ain't that other one. And yeah, it was a little disappointing to me just because they didn't go through the whole thing.
That award show used to be almost up there with the VMAs back in the late 90s, early 2000s, because they would get the best performances, and then there would be like a couple of awards, and it'd be like subversive. I mean, like that's when Pulp Fiction won for Best Picture. Like that was a big deal in 94, 95 because it had been shut out of the Oscars. I mean, it was nominated, I guess.
Yeah,
but
it got
wasn't.
nominated,
But yeah, it was like, oh, this is our awards, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And maybe it is for this
there was
generation.
There was something a little off about that one, that show. I don't know what it was. Either the quality of the awards or who ended up winning. I don't know what it was, but
Well, you could
you
tell
can't
they're
take
giving
any
it
of
to
it seriously.
Yeah, they're giving it to whoever's there.
Yeah.
Like Michael B. Jordan obviously would win, and that was a whole
well,
Twitter thing.
they
that
did
came
give
up.
one to what's her name from Stranger Things?
Oh, Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown.
I think in the 50 Shades Freed and the This Week in Sin that I actually watched this week, I think they recut that scene with Anastasia and the guy that kidnapped the sister. I think they recut that with all of Gary Sinise and Mel Gibson's dialogue from Ransom on the phone call.
Maybe they did. I know that Frank DM'd me on Twitter and said, damn it, I just watched all of 50 Shades Freed to write outtakes for this Week in Sin episode, and every single one I wrote, you guys did on the video. And now I've seen this movie, and I don't have any outtakes. And I was like, I basically said, what did I say? You played yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, you played yourself. It's got Sam Elliott.
That might be who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it doesn't look like William Sadler's in it too.
Billy Sads.
Yeah, Billy Sads, as he's known.
Billy Sads.